lobby, even if they're past teammates like Poison and Proka was back on, I believe it was X13 and SCL Season 3. I could be wrong about that, but they were teammates at one point about a year ago. So they still have that chemistry, but you have to factor them in with the rest of Synthetic.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that the constantly changing meta. I think with the introduction of Aruni, it is changing up the way a lot of teams play. And if your old meta play style is just not working, then a lot of times what I'm seeing with these teams is the players that they would normally have playing that Melusi or on attack, playing that hard support, they're having so much trouble to get their job done, and it's just causing for more of a jam in the attack, just causing for a lot of stallouts.
Now, my friend, would you describe like our current meta is not like full utility consumption simulator like we saw about 6 months ago, where it was destroying deployable shields, burning ADSs? Where this meta, it has that level of flair because it is true. You have to burn ADSs, you have to burn will buy pancakes and these Aruni gates, but it's not as oppressive. It's hard to really put your finger and say, what is this meta? Every meta in Siege is derived just to waste time, and this one seems to be approaching that utility consumption, but at a completely different angle. It's hard to, put words into it.
And I definitely agree with what you're saying. One way I like to think about it is it really came with the change where Wamai and Jaeger will counter each other out. If a Wamai disc is caught, then it takes it into the line of sight of the ADS. The ADS will actually burn that plate or that grenade or whatever, and but the utility for both those devices will be used up. And I think that has really changed the meta to allow for that selective displacement or that selective consumption of utility.
Well, we were talking about Jaeger changes, but that's a fun topic to have, right? Everyone's been screaming, oh, Jaeger's been nerfed again. His gun doesn't go as burr as it once was. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. Jaeger has the best gadget in game. So if he has the best gun in game, that doesn't make sense. But what always makes sense is our map bans and where our teams actually want to do battle today. Again, this is a best of one. So everyone will ban 3 maps, and the decider will be our battleground of today.
Taking it, our first one is going to be Oregon off the board. We have seen a lot of teams show that they are comfortable playing this map, and it has moved with the meta, but it has seemed to slow down. It's more of the same thing, one after the other. And our second one coming out will be Clubhouse. So just the same thing of constant attack, defenders doing the exact same thing. So we could be getting more of a meta change with this one.
Wow, look at the bans we had. If you talk about T4, T3, everyone says Oregon, Clubhouse, and Cafe. Those are the maps that we play, and they're the first 3 maps to be removed. That is an incredibly refreshing ban phase. Chalet will also be removed. And now look at the map pool we have. We have Consulate, we have Coastline, and we have Villa. Well, there goes Coastline. And if we look at the overall spectrum of T3, it's most likely going to be going towards Villa, the IGL heavy map. And when you have Poison in the lobby, you would say Villa up is probably the better map for Synthetic.
Oh my goodness. I was not expecting, like you said, I was expecting to see that Oregon Clubhouse Cafe and just to see Villa. So we're going to see what could be an extremely attack heavy or defender heavy. And it all comes down to the bans. That's my favorite part of Villa. You have to be playing as a team. And if you have one operator that you were going to plan on using as a cornerstone, if they get banned and taken off the board, your team is going to be thrown up into the air. And you have to try to catch every moving piece as it falls.
So, over my past 23 days of not casting, I've had a lot of time to reflect upon Siege and other esports titles I might be investing my time into. But one thing I like to look at is the overall macro strategy of a map. And Villa is a perfect candidate for that. Because over those past 23 days, we've still seen teams experimenting and doing different takes. Even the most bog standard take that you would think is basic and ingrained in every single player's mind, like we'll say a study execute, a pure linear study execute, where teams have said, you know what, we want to make that our own take. We want to make it with a twist. And instead they're pushing in from underneath through library, through piano and art to gain that extra vertical pressure from underneath, so they soften up planes and games and then go for their linear execute that way. And the bans will dictate that, with Ace falling off the board, followed by Thatcher. Opening up a wall from range distance is going to be a lot harder, which is actually going to play into that vertical clear from underneath.
Yeah, I think the roam presence is going to be the biggest, most influential factor even for the attacking side. If they are able to dismantle that roam, then they'll have so much free reign over the map and be able to influence everything as it comes. And with both of those operators of Valkyrie and Maestro now going off the board, that is so much information now off the board too.
Now, Roam Clears, as you highlighted, is going to be the apex for both of these rosters on defense. It's how they waste time. And there are multiple ways to roam, whether or not it's a true aggressive roam where you're taking the gunfight to the attackers, but that has a high risk element to it. So I prefer teams to do what I refer to as that staged roam, where you snipe away a drone and you retreat in stages or in buffer rooms till you get back to your final held position. And even if you're doing a full bunkered down defense where you put all of your man count in the bomb site, you still need to expand that bomb site out just slightly, so that way it's not like shooting fish in the barrel. You're at least forcing the attackers to take some of that real estate in a gunfight, or at least with their drone economy. Now, the tertiary bomb site will be our first place to do battle today in week 2. And it's not a surprise to actually see the tertiary bomb site come out. A lot of teams have also been trying to flirt with this idea of making sure the attackers are tripped up at the gate. As soon as that gun goes off, they might be expecting a Planes and Games offense, but instead, well, they're going to have to reorientate all their minds, and hopefully they select the right attacker lineup as well.
Exactly. If you're not expecting it, operator selection is one of the most influential factors in the round, as I talked about it at the start of the round with Ace being taken off the board. Now, luckily for this kitchen dining site, you can easily make do with the Habana, and you do have X-Stars on the sledge. He is going to be a massive influencer in getting that vertical control, and if you're on the side of Tidal or you're a Tidal supporter, you want to make sure that they're getting that vertical control before that 1 minute 30 mark. That way they can do the most damage possible.
So with the drone economy from Tidal already down range, this is going to be a two-pronged assault. Common Wisdom says you take from above and vertical, and then you force the defenders in positions that they're not comfortable. But this might just be a send in through laundry, as the members of Synthetic have been fully alerted to it. But X-Stars into the bomb site, able to take 2. Mr. B is going to attack onto the board as well. Everybody from Synthetic is starting to fall one by one, as now Tones off-site against 3. Isolated over in Memo. He's going to have bullets whiz over his head, but as the plant goes down, he's going to try to ingress back into the bomb site, but ReedSync is there to say hello.
Man, oh man, that was a quick one to say the least. Now, I gotta be honest, I was expecting to see a nice, long, methodical push through the top floor of Master Bedroom, but Tidal, they just took the fight right to Synthetic, right through both Pantry as well as Laundry, and it worked out phenomenally. It was not expected whatsoever, and we're going to be seeing never mind, we're not going to be seeing a pause right away, but just a masterclass play, and I think if us, being the casters with that third-person spectator view, weren't able to predict a rush coming out, I can bet you that Synthetic wasn't seeing it coming either.
Well, we were talking about the drones on the first floor, changing it up from like a non-linear execute, but I wasn't prepared for that full send because we were looking at the drones. We knew exactly what Tidal knew, and there was no drone pushing in from south to north through that laundry. That was either just a fast IGL call, you know, just say, hey, I think I can make this push, or that was pure game sense. Either way, a good read by Tidal. We're talking about mixing up the pace of a round, and that's exactly what you want to do. Whether or not you're prepared for that bomb site doesn't matter. It matters what you're able to do in the heat of the moment. Planes and Games being shown from Synthetic, their primary bomb site, but they're also going to be executing on this in a defensive manner with that Mira window. Mira is an operator that is always oppressive in any bomb site she's playing because she essentially has a long line of sight that the attackers could never push from. There might not be a Mira behind it, but you still have to treat it as a threat because she could be there lurking with a nitrocell or even a smoke with one of his toxic bays.
Exactly, and this could easily be a thorn in the side of Tidal, as it does look like they will be committing to a master side push to start off this round. But it does not come down just to the mirror play, as we're going to have Freak roaming inside of Statue, rotating all the way along to red. They are going to have a very efficient clear, and with all 5 drones being pushed in, giving Reed a plethora of information, it is without a doubt that he should be able to get a drop on this Jaeger.
This is exactly a textbook roam clear for Tidal. They're doing a lot of things well. They have full control of the north side of the map. Their drones will also confirm that, but they're going to still just dot their eyes to make sure nobody from Synthetic gets relatively cute and trying to flank up some of those stairwells. That's why those hatches are being opened up by Zofia. Now, Poison's also going to be on an operator that he loves to bring out. Another Arsenal member of Synthetic that is going to be that clash, and it's all about wasting as much time as possible. You couple that with an aggressive play of Freak trying to flank up through those basement, but Tidal has already been aware of something like that happening.
Yeah, just being able to have this information and work with it. Freak has gone for that very long, lurky roam, but it has not paid off. Since he wasn't able to get that flank onto Aster, he's now going to be retreating all the way up to main stairs and won't have as much of a roaming influence on the round. But saving his life for this late round play that has now come out is we're still at a 5v5 with a minute 15 to go. It's going to be a bloodbath, and just having that extra gun, especially Jaegers, is going to make a difference.
I would like Tidal to rotate right now underneath and send a frag grenade by one of the walls that Mira is playing on just to soften up that target, and that way you can start to expedite your attack because you don't have a set of smoke grenades available. So the only way of dealing with a mirror window is flanking. That's going to be a big problem with Poison on the clash. Utility's going in. It's now going to be a Nitro Cell to answer. It hasn't found its target. It's going to be Freak coming up the back stairs. Finally, the Nitro Cell will do its job, and that's going to be Synthetic on the top side of these frags. Now, ReedSync will be able to refrag one back, but the diffuser's surrendered over by Maps. It's going to be a dangerous position. Tile's going to have to retrieve that, but they have opened up some of the long angles, and those mirror windows aren't going to be as effective as they once were at the start of this round. Tidal is basically just sat on that gun vault wall. They can be clipped through by those toxic beams, but Packrack just walks in haphazardly, able to pick up the diffuser, but refragged and dropped down. 2v3. 10 seconds left on the clock. ReedSync on the flank coming in through Study, but everybody crumbles one by one. Synthetic takes round 2.
I have so much trouble watching Tidal do that. While stacking up and going for more of a staggered push worked last time because they all come in at the same time, they all were jumbled up like a can of sardines on top of landing and on top of those red stairs, causing for one of them to go at a time into sight. You had maybe one person watching those cross peaks, but you guys were just sitting there. You guys had so much utility. You guys could have been on your drones, could have gotten a pinch from Study, but just from leaving so many of your key assets just stuck in one position, waiting for one player to get their job done, it doesn't work out. Because if you keep pushing one person after another, trying to fight a Mira, where the Mira has a clear advantage in that gunfight, you're not going to win it. Giving Synthetic the first round, yeah, like it's...
I'm glad you brought up that Study rotation because, you know, during that round, we're like, well, we need Tidal to make that rotation. I advise pushing underneath to deal with those mirror windows, but you're right. Going to Study would have also accomplished more or less the same goal, but that would have required you to be successful with your hard breach, right? You want to have a crossfire, and Tidal needed to achieve that. And again, pushing Villa is a difficult map to do. If you're doing that big, grandiose roam clear that Tidal was, you have to set up crossfires, and I'd prefer them to be established at the 90-second mark, in all honesty. Whether or not you're going for the Study rotation or from the underneath to soften up the bomb site, it really doesn't matter which one you elect, as long as you do it in a timely manner. 10-second rotations and swinging into Study is kind of unacceptable. Like, that's going to be on the IGL to read into the problem, because Synthetic, why they're a strong team, why Poison's a phenomenal IGL, they did a lot of things that you can pull lessons from other engagements on Villa and piece apart that defensive strategy, and Tidal never made that leap of knowledge.
Exactly, and Tidal, I'm having trouble to understand the process right here. Because if you look at the way Synthetic is playing, they played for the smoke being able to deny and the Melusi being there with her nitro, just more of a nitro denial. That means there wasn't much utility to burn. Like you said, going down below, Tidal just wasn't using their utility as much as they could have been. And that's something that, as you said, the IGL is going to have to call out and make sure is fixed. Now, bottom control inside Dining has already been taken from Synthetic's grasp, and they're going to be getting their vertical play to be able to grab that wall. But the problem is, it's a Cade. Whenever you have a Cade on the board, you're able to hide those electroclaws all over the wall, meaning it will be a lot more difficult for Tidal to find, especially with no IQ on the board.
You used to be able to put them in invulnerable spots. Actually, I believe it's the first invulnerable cave before Clubhouse really made it famous. And there's a couple rafter positions where you can put them where they won't be naded. And I don't believe they're currently there. Actually, you can hear one of the X-Cairo pellets hitting the wall. So it has been found out perfectly by Tidal. And I believe, just judging by that audio cue, is placed on the northmost wall, and indeed it's going to erupt right open. A strong position for Tidal to be in. They've now just cut the entire bomb site in half, and that split corridor between Astro as well as Endear has been wrenched wide open. Synthetic will no longer be able to rotate through that position, and if they wanted to basically cross the Atlantic, well, they're going to have to take a gunfight to do so.
Yeah, and as they're crossing, we're going to have the cross peak coming out, but no, two huge swings. Mo and Freak are going to find the boards. Packrat and X-Stars now fall to the ground. They're relegated to the bench. Now a 3v5. Spiff is going to be able to stack up onto that. While stuck on the Astro Repel, there's not much he can do as he's in a pinched position with 50 seconds now remaining. Reed is going to be able to stack back up onto that as that's going to be Freak going down. Pushing together, they're going to have Astro control, but the Nitro from Poison is going to erupt, and Walt is going to be blasted all across Armory. Astronomy, Reed now stuck pushing up from Astro. He'll be able to find one, but no, he'll get refragged right away. Couldn't tell what happened there. Biff just coming alive. That's his second for the round.
I have to say, Tidal's attacking execute the first 90 seconds was textbook perfect. They did a lot of things well. That was a linear execute coming in through Master Bedroom. They're still able to apply crossfires from that bore window. They're able to even lock down members in Synthetic to the point where they weren't able to cross back into their bomb line. The problem was Tidal just lost their gunfights. They weren't able to capitalize on the positioning of their attackers. And just instantly, members of Tidal just evaporated into thin air. And that forced them to go for that Hail Mary aggressive play up the Astro stairs as well as through that Stars window, that rappel on through. That kind of really encapsulated the entire round from Tidal. It was just, let's send it, make the best of our problem. Now, there is some silver lining, and it's going to be what happens in round 4. Tidal was able to win round 4. They're only attacking win off that aggressive play, just sending it into the bomb site. Synthetic will hopefully have a better understanding of what's going to happen, because if we return back to round 1, Poison on Pulse actually saw members of Tidal pushing in through that laundry side, and they were still unable to apply the brakes to just the onslaught of members of Tidal. So hopefully this time, Tidal will be not rushing, and Synthetic will be prepared if a rush does happen.
Now, you talked about indestructible Cades, and you guys just saw a perfect example of that. Cade did deploy his Electroclaw down below inside a basement office, and that is actually electrifying the laundry wall. So even if they took the Cali, they would not be able to clear that out and be able to shoot that out. They have to now clear down below and find where that Cade was thrown in order to be able to get that laundry wall. That forces Tidal to have to now play even more into Synthetic's unwelcoming arms.
Well, hot take in the lobby, Ash is not running the R4C, that's a G36, without an angle grip, so she's running the vertical grip and the 1.5-time sight. At least she has access to the 1.5-time sight. Angle grip ACOG back in the day on the G36 was phenomenal. Actually, angle grip ACOG is the most broken thing in Rainbow Six Siege. Just like Tone's kill, if he gets it, he can hear one outside stunning, getting on that drone about 15 seconds earlier, and he's going to try to rat himself in a position to gift himself a free kill. It's going to come down to good positioning, good game sense, and just overall luck. Waltz gets off the drone. Waltz sprints in, but Tones almost loses that engagement. Now stuck on 10 HP. Going in through Art. He makes a lot of noise, and Mr. B is able to capitalize on it. A kerfuffle upstairs puts both these rosters back at 4 men and women apiece.
I mean, if you look at who was traded out, that Nomad is so much more devastating to the side of Synthetic. That means no flank watch, no possibly cutting off rotation with those air jabs. They play such an influential role, and when you're attacking a site like Dining and Kitchen where you want to isolate and cut off rotates, it's going to play massively into the favor of Tidal.
It's going to be the calm before the storm, as Tidal starts to find more places for them just to insert themselves in the bomb side. That's not the insertion that Reedsink needed, though, as he pushes straight through Pike. An ill-advised swing without information, but Tidal's just going to be able to bully themselves back into the bomb side. Trades back and forth, but Synthetic on the top end of that. Mr. B, the lone hard support against two. Isolated over in Memo and caught out by the Malusi Wum, so his position will be well known. Flashbangs go down range to try to soften up and blind members of Synthetic for him to get aggressive, but the time the flashbang has ended and Poison in the corner, able to take the duel to Mr. B.
What a nice round there. That was just constant trade back. Synthetic did not seem like they were even scared for a moment. They were in control. They were in the driver's seat, which is what you want to see as a defending team. They were able to control the flow and control exactly where Tidal was coming from. And that just comes from the denial that they brought of the Cade and just the amount of information they're playing off of, whether that be the roaming vigil calling out that there's a Habana inside a piano and there's a second person with her. It just comes down to not having the Valkyrie or the Maestro and being able to play just each other's comms.
And what I like about Synthetic is, you know, there's a few names that we haven't really said yet on broadcast. Mohesi being one of the big ones. And he is going to be the last line of defense every single time from Synthetic. If he is the last one alive, you know that something has gone wrong. And Synthetic, well, they haven't really needed to have Mohesi be this big, grandiose player. He is the top frag currently, but that's just the situation of Synthetic. He doesn't need to get flashy kills because he's doing exactly what his role says. And I think that's an important lesson that we always forget when we look at esports in general. We always highlight these, you know, big flash, the grandiose plays, but it's when a player is in lobby doing exactly their job, that's when you want to be, you know, that ace player, when you do exactly what you need to. Mohesi has done that so far throughout this series, and actually every member of Synthetic has done exactly their role.
Yeah, and that's just a key point in Siege that you highlighted. So anyone who's even looking to get into it, do your role, and that's all it comes down to. When you're gunfights, do your role, and your teammates, you're going to be helping them out more than you know. Just being able to watch each other's back. If I'm playing and I have Mo on my back, I'm probably the most confident there is, and a nice swing, but no, Mr. B is actually going to be able to capitalize on the Freak. He, on the Jaeger, has actually not been able to find the board, but he has denied time multiple times throughout this game.
You know, if we want a real-world example, let's look at Slaughterhouse Bravo, the team that is currently leading Group B.
Yeah.
Wubs is the example. He can gun, he can click heads, but he is a support player at heart. And if he goes into a server never getting a kill, and he just drones in the banana members of Slaughterhouse Bravo, burnt turkey, you know, on Flank Watch or Doc. I mean, that's exactly what you need to do. Now, we're digressing from a roster that isn't currently on screen, but it's just still proving that point even more. Tidal has control of the entire north side of the map after getting that lucky kill from Freak just swinging haphazardly. But sometimes you need to, you know, derail the train to actually get all the gold.
A much more spread out push with Reed actually going from down below. He'll be able to wreak some vertical havoc on the defenders of Synthetic if he is able to get into proper position. Considering that all 4 players left on the side of Synthetic are upstairs on site, this gives Reed free reign down below. And that's exactly what we're going to begin to see as all of Zophia's impacts are going to be utilized. However, they're not going to be used for the mirror, and that's going to be a team kill as well as Tones taking out Reed. Mo, that is your smoke. That's not what you want to do. Shoot the other team.
Well, we're talking about Mohesi doing his job, and I guess he's going to have to do his job from the grave now. An unfortunate series of events, but, you know, the Baudelaires never actually, you know, changed their name, but maybe Synthetic will actually be able to rewrite their story in round 5. That sub 60 seconds on the clock with Tidal with that man advantage, well, they're going to have to convert it into a round win. Spiff wants to take that aggressive engagement using that shield, but Waltz is going for the plant. Knock, knock, who's there? It's a Nitrocell putting the diffuser in the grave behind Maps.
That is going to be a really big kill since you have had the Nomad go for the plant multiple times. And now being reattempted by Mr. B. He is already extremely lit up. But the second C4, Spiff connects onto Mr. B. It is all left up to Packrat. He'll swing. See Clash pushing up the 90 hallway. No options. Pushes right into Tones. He'll clean up the round. Synthetic go up once again, 4-1.
Wow. Things are starting to get heated in this lobby. Tidal, even with that gifted opening duel, was unable to convert anything after that. It seems like Tidal is passive in every engagement that they go for. They want to play like Bank used to play. If we go back downstairs to Bank, what was the primary strategy there for the attackers? You open up the wall and you throw bodies at the problem and hope you don't die to a nitro cell as you put the bomb down. Tidal is just yeeting players into the bomb site and dying as a result. They're really not doing their due diligence to apply pressure onto the bomb site. They have a good execute in the first 60 seconds of the round, clearing out map control. And I'd like to hypothesize that it's Clash. It is Poison on Clash that is being such a thorn over by 90 Classical Hallway that Tidal is like, we're not even going to deal with that minigame. We're just going to try to go for the plant minigame. But if we were able to see, maybe hard breach going on that east-west wall between the two bomb sites, at least that way you soften up the defenders. You have places where they won't be able to sit as comfortably, and then maybe you can go for the map's plant. But still, you have to deal with those nitro cells being eaten at you. And Tidal, they're not understanding that mechanic.
Another thing they're not understanding is how well Synthetic is playing their roam game. Last time we saw this, I believe this is Statue and Trophy, yes. So last time they played Statue and Trophy, at a minute 15, both the Roamer and Freak and Mo, they were both still alive, or I think it might have been Tones. They rotated back to site at the minute 15 mark, and that is where they were able to catch, I believe it was both Reedsync and Packrat, completely off guard by the trophy windows. So just huge plays like that, working together, just working in a split, getting your refrag. Even if one of those players went down, I guarantee the other would have gotten the refrag. So just really playing the numbers and playing your man is exactly how you have to maneuver around Villa.
Freak is living up to his name right now. He is sitting in a corner over by the pantry stairs. Now, Tidal has pushed into that position before, so it's a good read on his part, but he's just trying to, get gifted with free kills. That's what he was trying to do in the round 5, but high risk, high reward strategies don't always net the dividends that you would like. Now, Tidal, they're going to go for the southwest clear, and it's going to work out extremely well. The micro positioning from Synthetic 2 over by Planes and Games instantaneously evaporated, unable to have any rotations whatsoever. The hot hands of Synthetic have just dropped.
Now, moving forward, this puts Freak in a very awkward position since he is going to be maneuvering through enemy lines. He'll get into a confrontation with Packrat, and it's going to be one for the Sentries. Freak will come out on top, evening out the man count just a little bit more, but still, man advantage in the way of Tidal, 3-4. But that is your Ashe. That's the one operator you are probably able to leave out, the one that you're willing to lose on those trades, but it still sets up Synthetic to be able to deny this round simply through utility usage and time.
Tidal has been in this position before with the man advantage. They've been unable to convert after that. So it is going to be additional pressure being applied. And the reverse Uno card to that statement will be Tidal. How will they actually apply the pressure? They don't have time on their side anymore. We hit the doomsday hours at 60 seconds now left on the clock. Now, Tidal has plenty of those drones to help them with this attacking execute. Still 30% of their drone economy. That doesn't sound like a lot, but in the dying seconds of the round, that will be an incredible asset. Same thing with those rounds. Waltz is putting the bullets down range as well as the diffuser. A 1v3. We're now in the post plan. Poison over by the east side master bedroom. Forced to take these engagements with SMG-11. It's going to be a tall order for him. The support IGL has to evolve into an entry fragger.
Not a desirable position, as you can see, this vertical play now coming out. He will spray onto Reed. He's looking for his 4th on the round, but no, X-Stars is going to clean up. That's going to be Tidal's 2nd round, bringing us to 4-2 on the split.
I mean, that's exactly what Tidal needed to do. They won round 1. They were able to take round 6. And you know what? 4-2 splits are still common. We always talked about CGG and the statistics of whether or not Villa is attacker-sided in past series. In Stage 2 of the NAL, I'd love to say it was attacker-sided by 3%, but it's still attacker-sided. Stage 1 of, I guess, this year of NAL, it has just finished. I don't have the stats in front of me, but if we're taking T3 as an example, it seems like those elements are still there. What made Villa attacker-sided? It's the attacker's ability to apply crossfires. It's their ability to shut down the roam. A perfect example of that is round 6, where we saw defenders of Synthetic isolated over in planes and games, unable to rotate away. Even the rotations that they pre-established through Gunvault, it wasn't good enough because Tidal, for one of the first times that we've seen this series, was actually able to rotate one of their attackers premeditated over to 90, and that just shuts down any hope in Synthetic to have rotations. But the sides have now switched, we're moving over to the Synthetic's attacking stint, and they have to be prepared for planes and games.
Exactly. Now we're seeing more of a mirrored setup with a few alterations, as a lot of these teams are altering. No, never mind, Mr. B just going to correct me once again. I was going to see a lot of teams are starting to leave that study to Aviator while open, just to add a extra level of crossfires. But no, they are actually going to opt to reinforce and play more of a safer game, especially with that Cade on the board and Thatcher being banned out. It's extremely easy to deny any access to these reinforced walls.
Now, I have a hot take. I hate when defenders open up these south study walls because it gives the attackers a free crossfire. Now, you're talking about the defender is using a crossfire, but if you take, the study balcony where we currently have Freak playing, the attackers are always going to have the advantage holding that position because they have ranged optics and higher caliber weapons. And also, the best way of holding the defense of the B bomb site is by clipping smoke grenades to the gunvault wall, and you can't do that as accurately if you're not actually on the gunvault itself. Packrat watches one crossover, one tap bullet misses, and Freak says, "Hello, I was almost converted into dinner," as he spawns and sends his own bullets and answer back, and Packrat has now been poisoned.
Now, this leaves them in once again, a horrible position that man down gives Freak and his team of Synthetics so much capability to get destructive down below, as we're going to see that start to erupt at the minute 45 mark. He'll swing, trying to hold this vault doorway, but the damage is done. Minute 40, they have the utility, they have the info. With the Iona being able to push up, you know that they're going to be able to bait out these C4s as well.
The vertical holes that every single smoke main knows how to play. It's going to be used against Synthetic. Unfortunately, Walt isn't able to dish out any damage from that position, forced to rotate away, but fortunately, X-Stars is there to greet Tones with the Nitro Cell. But double down on aggression for X-Stars was not the answer to his prayers. He would have been better off falling back to the bomb site. Tidal wants to continue with this level of aggression, and it's not going to help them one bit. It's been converted instantaneously to a Synthetic win as everybody from Tidal attempts to go nuclear, but the reaction blows up in their face, and they find themselves in Chernobyl.
You know, that was just, like you said, a reactive meltdown of a round, and the lights just went off. 1 second they were on, 1 second they were off. I think that there might even be a power surge because they just took the life right out of Tidal. They had the man advantage. Now, they use it to a T. We talked about getting those crossbeaks, working with your teammate to get those refrags. Even when, I'm not sure who it was at the end of the round, was down by the remaining player of, I think it might have been Walter Reedsink, there was not even a split second before a refrag came out. And that is exactly what you have to do in Villa. You've talked about those cross peaks, talked about watching your teammates' angles. There was no breathing room for Tidal, no matter how much open space you had on Aviator in games.
And this series doesn't feel as one-sided as the scoreboard is currently showing. Now, Tidal being on defense right now, if they're able to channel in the Synthetic mentality, well, that means they're going to win 4 in a row, and we're going to find ourselves with Synthetic winning that round 12. Now, that's a tall order to, ask to project out into the future, but it is just an interesting parallel that these teams are currently finding themselves in. I will say, the asset that Synthetic has is their ability just to win gunfights. And it's refreshing to see. If they find themselves in a bad position, they just turn on the afterburners and take gunfights. Gunfights that they have no business winning, they win it single-handedly. And maybe that's also reading into Tidal's aggression on both attack and defense. Sometimes the best way of fighting that aggressive team team on defense is to be just as aggressive, because you can force them to, well, become even more aggressive. You make the defenders evolve into this just angry dragon entity of a ball of anger, and then sometimes, like we were joking about earlier, they combust.
Yeah, and I think that is the fire. And as much as a combustion may sound cool, it may sound, oh, they're going to explode on the attackers. Now, the problem with combustion is that it's going to run out. You'll have that brief moment of explosion, but afterwards you are left with nothing but smoke and what once was. And that is seemingly what's happened to Tidal. The tide has shifted away from them, and they are letting this match slip away. If you are on the side of Tidal, you need to be able to plan your aggression, play into the misinformation, exactly what ReadSyncs is doing to Tones. That's going to be the Ayana off the board and a lot of info gone. And now, even if you look at the drone economy, only, I believe that is 9 drones left. They have the info, but just not the time to use it.
And that's the power of Ayana, as your high 90% of the drone economy is left for synthetic, because Ayana was doing the heavy lifting. And now as we hit 100 seconds left on the clock, well, you can use your traditional means of grabbing that information. Now, I will have to say, commenting on Tone's play there, that was a senseless engagement to take. That was a no information, let me just take control through red. Why wasn't he calling in for some additional support? That's going to be on, well, if I'm going to put fingers downrange, it's going to be on Poison for not dictating who is droning in secondary entries. Mistakes like that will compound. Now, the reason why, I called out Poison in that scenario is because he's a brilliant IGL. It is very rare that he makes an information and a call mistake. And knowing him, having casted him for a very long time, he is going to be able to rebound from that instantly and guide the remaining of his troop to success.
Exactly. And now with 45 seconds, a smoke canister is going to be detonated, and all this utility is going to be used to open up all lines of sight into the statue site. Now, swinging up from Astro, it's going to be Waltz all alone to defend and repel this Astro push. Man advantage will keep going, as it will just be a constant fire that is Tidal, shutting down Synthetic at every single turn. Nade coming out onto Astro's shield will be gone. Spiff collecting onto Waltz, trying to fight back. All of the Poison and Spiff will be swinging out. Poison be able to find one on his own onto Mr. B. Swinging out, won't be able to watch the creep fire, but Spiff is going to be able to onto one, but no! X-Stars finding the last two. Spiff and Poison will go down. Tidal up one more round, bringing us to 5-3.
X-Stars and I were talking a couple months ago, and you said I'm much more comfortable on support roles, but when I first started to cast him, he was always playing really aggressive entry roles. And, well, he could always go back to his roots, able just to win gunfights. And sometimes players like to, be that backbone of a team where I don't need to be aggressive, but when I have to be, when I need to win a gunfight, I am more than capable of. Same parallel that we're making to Slaughterhouse Bravo, and that was Wubs in that exact same position. And also, throughout this game, we've seen Trophy be the defending powerhouse. Going back to the CGG statistics we were talking about earlier, well, the worst bomb site, excluding Library, was actually Trophy, at least for the defense. It was the best for the attackers, and in this series, it is the exact opposite. So far, it's the best for the defenders.
Exactly, and although we want to say attack is the way to go, it's just clear that both these teams are well practiced on this defensive side. They know the cross angles they have to watch, and it's just a failure to adapt in most cases on the attacking side. Now, for a team like Synthetic, they haven't been able to feel the waters too much, as this is only going to be their third round attacking on Villa. So by now, they should have a sense, especially with this being the second time they're attacking this Plains and Games bomb site, to know what they want to do. And Poison, like you said, he knows what he's doing, and he will be able to direct his team to do exactly what they have to get this clear, to get this pick, and to basically uniformly pick apart the defensive Tidal.
Binks, I have to say this right now. I find it hilarious that Mr. B was hunting for drones. He was looking at every single nook and cranny, and the one place right in front of him was the one place he didn't check to kill the drone.
I was trying so hard not to. I didn't want to say something.
I know it's bad etiquette to cast like drones in the prep phase, but sometimes you just have to, stop and, enjoy and, maybe point some fun at somebody, because That's what we're here for, is, have fun, have a good time. And, that's, a theme that I think every player in this lobby needs to realize. It's not always about winning. It's about enjoying the process and enjoying the game. Now, Freak won't be enjoying it much after he just vaults in through art. He had the visual static, or at least his primary droner did, and they assumed that Mr. B was deeper off-site. But the crossfire will eventually come through by Synthetic as they apply pressure from every single angle. Mr. B overstayed his welcome just a bit, but even if he attempted a rotation through the red stairs, he would have not likely been able to survive.
Pack Rat, that is such a nice pick, and really using the aggression where it counts. With Tones now being off the board, that is a second set of nades that you don't have to worry about, and that destructive capability of Synthetic is just evaporating away. Now reinforcement will come out, and they are going to be rotating to hold down the site. A nice shot from Mo will come out through the bar vertical angle. Poison also eating some bullets as we tick down the time to a minute 20. All three players stacked up on top of main stairs. They need to decide what they are going to do, but a staggered push will not work.
Reed Sink in an aggressive angle, trying to swing deeper into Study, but he is going to wait for audio cues to prompt him for that. It actually might be a drone walking its way through Study, which you'll be able to swing off of. And that's something that people overlook. Just because your defender spotted out by a drone, that drone gives you, the defender, some type of information. That means there's most likely going to be an attacker, a primary entry following up that drone's. Good positioning from X-Stars, but his gunplay was not so brilliant. But fortunately, Reedsing is able to capitalize on that mistake by that Nitro. X-Stars will also redeem himself, taking that kill, and everybody crumbles from Synthetic. Tidal, that's 2 in a row for them.
They're bringing it back round by round, and they really isolated the picks there. You saw even at the end, there was never a time when Tidal was taking a 2v1, trying to win it out or trying to get that trade. Every single instant, when even we saw, I believe that would have been X-Stars playing them Lucy, swung on top of Trophy. She waited for the Nitro to come out from, I think it was Reedsync on the Cade. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have the cross angle set up. There is nothing that Synthetic can do because they don't have the map control. By just waiting for that swing, forcing that 2-on-1, they have now set themselves up in an immensely better position for the round. And it made it so easy for them to get those final 3 kills.
Well, we're going to see a 6 pick away from the smoke in favor of a mute, so it's all going to be about the SAS in that operator reveal phase, and it's also going to be about these Nitro Cells. It is going to be Nitro Cell Bonanza or Call Center from Hell, but it's going to be the light version. We've seen rosters at every single level of play, whether it's not professional or down in the slums of T7, bring out some form of Nitro Cell denial. But we've also seen them use every combination, whether or not it's 5 Nitro Cells or the minimum for a Nitro Cell Bonanza is 3. And in this case, it is going to be 3 from the side of Tidal. And we're going to have to see how they are going to be guiding this. Valkyries, as well as Pulses, are a strong way of guaranteeing your information. Now, Valkyrie was banned out, so that means you're only going to have to rely on the active information of Pulse. But we've also seen teams get very clever and use alternate forms of information, and those are going to be those Malusi Wubbles. If you place them upstairs, not on flank watch positions, but in positions where Synthetic has to traverse, such as Master Bedroom, or even in through Astra, you hear somebody in the disco ball of death, well, you just ring them up with a Nitro Cell and you bury them outright.
Exactly, but we can't talk about all these C4s, especially that Pulse play, without bringing up the fact that Tones has switched off the Ayana and is taking the IQ. IQ perfectly counters Pulse in this case, and if they are able to isolate that cardiac sensor, then they will be all set to completely dismantle any sort of vertical play attempted by Tidal.
This is hyper-aggression coming out by Reedsync. It is a terrible place to be in. Why? Well, he's in a crossfire from 4 different attackers. The likelihood of him ever getting out of bathroom alive was so low, and now X-Stars wants to return to that position. It seems like Tidal, again, they just want to take gunfights, and these are gunfights that you can't have. Even Packrite over here in Stat, he can go for a vault out through Sky, but still, he can be cut off by Red Stair's flank, and there are members of Synthetic still lurking in that position. Now, sure, you can have somebody swing from Memo, but to have the cogs move from Tidal to make one rotation viable, it's a lot of eggs in one basket, and I don't know if Tidal will actually get the true dividends doing a strategy like that, but Miss Drones from Synthetic will actually help Tidal out more. 2 members of Synthetic instantaneously lost.
What a smart play. The Nitro of Pulse did not work out, but Packrat and, honestly, X-Stars made quick work of it. Poison will attempt to swing into sight from Laundry, but it won't work if you have your angles already being watched constantly. Mo watching will be able to catch the foot of Mr. B and be able to down him. Now swinging out, he is left all alone in an undesirable 1v3. Rotating in through Landy. The next gunfight he will have to take is going to be against X-Stars, but it does appear he has rotated back. Pushing up, vertical control has been given out. Diffuser is down in sight. All hope seems to be lost for Mo and his team of Synthetic as their attack is just fallen apart yet again.
Bullets whizzing through the floor as members of Tidal just hold mouse 1, hoping that they collect with Mo Hesse as he just tries to walk through. Down the Astro stairs he goes, and down to the grave he will follow. Hesse is going to drop off the face of the earth. And that was a round that I was writing off already as Synthetic being the better team. They had a full 360-degree crossfire. They put Tidal in a chokehold, and then they decided to stop choking Tidal and just walk away. They did so many things to win their fight, and then they just stopped. Perplexing to say the least. Why would you spend resources putting up a crossfire to not actually cash in all those dividends? It is like somebody investing in the stock market and just, selling as the first bounce, which is actually maybe one of the more viable strategies in the stock market.
It may be one of the more
investing
viable
in Dogecoin. Yeah. let me amend that metaphor here.
Take two on that. I know the stock market isn't that forgiving, but I think it will be. You can give that one another go. Yeah,
for real. And the best part is, if you don't know what I do for a living, I have a degree in retirement planning, wealth management. I was about to go through the metaphor. I was like, I'm not going to finish this sentence. It's not going to hit, the way I wanted to. Well, I guess the same thing happened for Synthetic. That round didn't hit the same way they wanted to either.
No, it definitely did not. And that is why we are going to be seeing a timeout, as Tidal has been able to bring this back to 5-5. And this game has once again, it can go anybody's way, and it just comes down to Synthetic's ability to really read into just the plays of Tidal. If they're able to counterplay and capitalize, like you said, on those cross peaks they're setting up, these are their rounds, and they're throwing them away.
Well, it looks like my camera just had an aneurysm over here. We were talking about setting this nice setup, this brand new setup, and it just is like, I don't want to focus right now. Thank you, camera. I really appreciate that. So we actually have an admin ruling right now. So technical timeouts are going to be available to you, but traditional timeouts where you're able to talk to your coach, for example, or talk amongst yourselves isn't available. Now, I hate to also bring up this, but do you remember back in the day, I think it was EG that got accused of this, where it was Gotcha and EG, where they accused him of flipping the router, where they would say, oh no, I have a disconnect. I've dropped out of the lobby. Then they take a 15-minute timeout, and then suddenly they win the next 2 rounds because, well, they've had a timeout. Or, you get the mute audio bug without mute being in the lobby, where pros will be like, I have mute sound bug, and mute hasn't even seen play in like 5 rounds. It's like, okay, boys.
Oh my goodness, my favorite one, and this is a glitch that actually happened to me, and honestly, just coaches using that as a way to talk to their team. While creative, I find it absolutely hilarious, and I think that is why, if you have the ability to do that, and there's no way for devs to confirm if you have those timeouts, then you just gotta give them the timeouts. You just gotta basically bend the rules to say, all right, we're giving you the tactical timeouts because there's no way for us to monitor if
All
you
right.
are actually genuinely needing it.
Hold up. What happens since we're now North American LAN League? If you say I mute Soundbug, because there are admins, you can see them on the live broadcast walking back and forth. They pick the headset up where like you don't have Soundbug, you can't rehost. That would be killer to say the least. That would probably never happen.
That would be one for the highlight reels. I think that would not go away too fast. And there would be a bit of a stalemate, a little bit of a knowing glare between the admins and the players.
I mean, with COVID too, you can't do that.
Oh my
right?
goodness!
You wouldn't be able to do that because of COVID regulations anyway. So
there you go.
I guess if you're
breaking the
system
system now.
Yeah, if you're trying to cheat, you could just say, oh, you can't touch my stuff. And actually, one of my coaches said, and this is probably something bad, but my water polo coach ingrained this into my lifestyle playing water polo is nothing's illegal until you're caught. So that's how we would play water polo.
You're not breaking the rules if they didn't catch you.
Exactly.
It's not stealing if they didn't see you do it. Now, this is a very good round to talk about this because nothing has happened. Now, you're probably wondering, hey, Chief, hey, Pinks, we're watching a game between Synthetic and Tidal. It's pretty tight. What's going on? Not much. We have 5 players alive on both sides. Reed and Tones taking a bit of damage from an earlier confrontation. But now with 1:30, things are starting to boil down and hopefully heat up. But with Goyo on the board, we know that there are going to be a few explosions along the way.
At least it's better than hey caster start the game. Drones going down range, and some of them are being stopped right in their tracks by those mute jammers. Now Synthetic, they have control of the south, but they're going to have something a little bit more than that. And that more is going to be Poison coming to the east side over by Master, applying that crossfire. Now, Reed Sync is going to return back to the abode he was in round 10 over by Master Pedro. Now, there isn't a member of Synthetic on that Stars Astro Repel, so that's actually going to be a good position for him. He can just rotate free, assuming that triple wall of coat isn't opened up right in front of him. Now, Freak trying to swing in through stat. The problem was, well, he found bullets in his way. He was trying to get aggressive. And also, the wall that Synthetic wants to open up, well, he can't, because it's still Cade Klein and Reed Sync now will fall.
Tones using his Iona to great effect. Getting that extra bit of info with this final 30 seconds will be absolutely crucial, as Packrat will fall to Mo. Now down to a 5v3 as Synthetic is getting to commit onto site. Biff adding on to that, taking out Walt. Mo going for the refrag, going for the fuse, and sorry, X-Stars is going to get a huge double kill. Mr. B stacking up onto it. We are seeing the round being flipped on his head. 10 seconds to go. Diffuser needs to go down. Poison will pick it up into his possession as Spiff will be able to swing and take out X-Stars. Now 2v1, but Mr. B just has to deny this plant. It is going down all the way inside of Trophy, so it will be successful. Mr. B going for this retake. He'll be springing out into Astronomy and Trophy, but Poison will collect onto his head. Synthetic taking the round, going up to match point.
That was a heartbeat of a round, to say the least. A 5v2 in favor of Synthetic. They had every positional advantage. They had every gunfight going in their favor until they didn't. Tidal able to answer 3 kills almost instantly, and that was just deer in the headlights play for Tidal. Their backs were against the wall. The animal was caged. It was angry. It was foaming out the mouth, and it wasn't going to go down without a fight. Eventually, Synthetic was able to bring in the tranquilizers, but again, we keep highlighting. I don't think
they tranquilized that guy. I'm sorry to tell you.
Neutralize is the better word, probably, for that. You're absolutely right, because Synthetic,
I think
would end up
euthanized might have been a good one too.
Yeah, there's that as well. Anyways, though, again, you just had great levels of aggression. Tidal, the caged animal theory. They gave it all, but sadly, they lost too many of their fighters early on. If they still had members of their team alive in that final execute of Synthetic, that 5v2 probably would have been something that Tidal would have won, and they would have been the roster now on match point. But the big question is, round 11, this round that we've been talking about, was that the penultimate round, or are we going to see overtime?
Now, that is one that is still out on the jury. They're going to decide that one very soon, as we've just started our 3-minute round. Every single round we've seen Tidal win is rounds where they've been able to get this early pick that will really offset Synthetic's ability to clear the map. Now, that early aggression has paid off and worked against Tidal in most cases. It's a massive risk reward. But now coming down to this final round, that early pick is going to be exactly what they need to sway the momentum back in their favor.
You know, something we haven't talked about is Packrat running the MK DMR. A lot of people are running the P10 Roni because that gun absolutely shreds, but I guess to a certain extent, the other use of the word shred, that DMR can do the same because it hits like a truck. You just have to be able to spam mouse 1 fast enough and hope that you actually are lining up your shots. Now he's going to be spotted on a rotation back for his gun vault. Freak gets completely removed from the server.
Oh my goodness.
Freak has been having a rough showing on attack and actually on defense as well. I think he was sitting at like 2 and 5 going over to the half.
Look at the 5 assists though. He's starting his gunfights. He just can't finish them off. And when you're going off a crazy player like Packrat, you can see exactly why that's happening.
Well, I mean, Max Gilly was the departer for Synthetic. He was running that Jaeger Ash role. So Freak is more than capable of playing that role, because if you know anything about him, he's a freaking ranked, and he will end your days every twist and turn. And Synthetic, they also don't want to have their case. You know, they left it outside over by Study. You know, that's the whole plot of Pulp Fiction, right? Just leaving the case in random places.
Oh, Tones. Tones. Diddling ding ding. Mr. Beast will be able to take out Tones. We're going to see a 3v5. Mo now swinging with the Diffuser. He has the location of the Kate, and he's just waiting for him to peek his head up. But instead, it'll be a Nitro shot right out of the air by Mo. Not exactly what he's expecting, but lining up his crosshairs in exactly the right position. Now a bit of a stalemate as Packrat is going to get his second for the round. Swinging out into Master's bedroom, he's going to be trying to find Spiff, one of the last remaining players of Synthetic. Both of them being locked inside of this Master bedroom with not much of an escape.
Well, we've seen 5v2s beforehand, but the Synthetic and the Advantage and Driver see the last one, so maybe they're going to be able to convert it into a round win. If not, it will be overtime. For these two teams, it's all about holding angles, and the angles that Tidal is holding is just better. That conversion is now 1v5. Spiff over by Master Bedroom. There's nowhere for him to go. He pushes in through this Master dorm. It's going to be a fatal funnel. Every member of Tidal is looking in his direction. The Diffuser is surrendered. There's bullets whizzing over his head from a plethora of different angles. This round, again, has been forfeit. Spiff is just trying to find a consolation prime. He has the stats. He is the top frag for Synthetic, but he's going to be buried outright by Waltz. Tidal, they'll take round 12 in a decisive fashion. It's a flawless round for them. Overtime guaranteed.
Now, refresh me really quickly, Chief. In this overtime, are we going to see endless overtime, or is this going to be a really quick decider?
Well, sadly, my friend, I am always a fan of infinite overtime. It leads to the best competitive games, but we also have scheduling to keep in mind. So it is going to be the 3 rounds of overtime up into round 15, and whoever has the most points in round 15 will be the winner, or whoever wins 2 out of the 3 rounds will also be that winner. Now it's going to be Synthetic. They're going to go on a attack, and the problem is they haven't been looking so great on attack. Now, Tidal also was struggling on attack. Both these rosters went 4-2 splits on defense. So, Tidal, they're going to be the roster in control of this overtime. They're going to be the ones dictating the pace throughout.
Your bombs from being defused by attackers.
No, that is exactly it. Tidal has shown how comfortable they are on this defensive side, so them being able to keep it for 1 extra round is going to be exactly what they need. However, it is a bit questionable that they have not opted to go back to the statue site, especially with how successful their hold on it was. It was a flawless round, if I'm correct.
So, going back to my notes, in round 11, that was a trophy defense for Tidal. They would end up losing that outright. And their other showing of trophy, that was back into round 8, so Tidal won that as well. So, they had back and forth rounds then. Now, Planes and Games actually has a similar storyline. Tidal, the first showing of Planes and Games back in round 7, they would lose that, and then after that, Tidal won it. So they actually have the same record on both these bomb sites. So you're right. You know, maybe they're going to use, you know, their flawless round that they just had in trophy. But actually, if I was the IGL Tidal, I'd probably also go with plays in the game, simply because I don't want to go to the same bomb site twice, especially after having such a decisive win, because we keep going back to Poison. He's extremely competent in IGL, and round 12 is going to be very fresh in his brain, and that's going to be something that you can't overlook.
Now, we see that kills along both sides of the team, they are very well rounded out with only one player just slightly trailing behind. On the side of Tidal, that is Waltz, and on the side of Synthetic, that is going to be Freak. But both of these players have the capability, as they are getting their assists on the board, to be winning these gunfights. And this just really is a good showing of how capable every single player is. And it just comes down to winning your gunfights. These teams are both extremely competent in clearing the map, but it does not matter if you don't catch the right info. That info being Mr. B on this late and very deep roam.
I was about to highlight his position over in Mudroom. That's a unique way to play, but he is just trying to be out of the way. So Synthetic doesn't even identify that there is an obstacle still throughout this round, and the whole goal for Tidal is Mr. B finds himself coming up one of the 3 stairwells and shooting members on Synthetic in the back, but they also have to be prepared with what could be utility on the stairwells, whether or not it is going to be an air jab or a flank drone. Actually, hopefully it's a combination of both of those for Synthetic's sake. And utility starting to go down range. It's going to be the first showing of utility. Flashbangs trying to burn out those ADSs, and the reason why you don't open up any of those study walls is being shown straight out, as Reedsync is going to go down but not out, but rezzed back up to 20 HP.
Just had to prove my point there. He is just a downing machine. He downed Reedsync, and now he will send X-Stars down to the floor, desperately clawing for his life. But a res on those main stairs is not as likely, but it will look to be successful, as we're going to keep this 5v5 with both Reed and X surviving with their utility. And that utility is a C4, which could definitely make a huge impact in this round.
How on earth did Tidal have 2 players down but not out, able to res back? Perplexing to say the least. Here comes the execution for Synthetic. Freak is going to start things off with his death happening outright, but Mohesi gets the refrag. Everybody's going to start to find their impact frags, but Tidal is going to be the sharp end of that stick, as they now have the man advantage. At some 20 seconds left on the clock. Waltz, with all those toxic babes, is going to be unable to use them. It's the crossfires coming in through U-Bar. Synthetic is still in this round. They're going to try to go for a plant in a position that Tidal might not be prepared for. Every remaining member of Tidal is off-site. They're going to have to retake their own bomb site. And SMG-11 is going to go off, and it's going to find themselves 2 kills. That is Synthetic taking round 13, the first round of overtime, and attacking victory for Synthetic.
Smith, essentially, with how many players he down there, basically got 4 kills at least. With how much damage he was outputting, that is just an absolute absurd amount of damage. He was definitely an MVP, and he led his team through that assault. He completely was a staple. And to say the least, if you don't put a stop to that, I talked about it before, Synthetic's ability to take a round using their full 5-man advantage, or that all those 5 players being alive on attack, is something that Tidal cannot let happen. And that's exactly what came to pass in the previous round.
Clash being shown once again, but that's not going to be in the operator reveal phase. It will be picked into in the 6th pick phase. It has been a bane of Tidal, and every single attack that they've had on planes and games has been trying to establish some type of beachhead in these rounds. And again, everything they do on the roam clear is picture frame perfect. They do so many of that execute well, but when it comes down to their actual on-site execute, the hardest part of a round, they tend to just stumble a little bit. Now, I've had this, theory a few times. Every team, at least hopefully all competent rosters, are dry running. Not just their defensive strategies, but their attacking strategies. It's kind of going through the gist of a round. Where are you putting your flank drones? Where are you going to be droning? Where are those air jabs going? And every execute you have is going to have that element. It's pretty easy to dry run the attack. The thing is, when you actually dry run your execute, what you're doing when you're 30 seconds left on the clock, it becomes impossible to predict because who's to say it's a 10-man lobby at that point? Who's to say that you got 2 opening duels? Who's to say that you lost 2 opening duels? You can never dry run it, but that's on a competent IGL to have kind of ingrained in his mind, preset contingency plans. And it's usually for if you're at the man disadvantage because you have to be able to establish
Attackers have
some
located a
type of
bomb.
crossfire. And that's really where Tidal is falling. They're not making those last adjustments, those
The attacker's
predictive
bomb diffuser has been
adjustments
dropped.
when it comes
Attackers
to
recovered the
that,
bomb diffuser.
inevitable bomb plan.
Exactly, and I really like what you said there, where it comes down to the IGL, because you can't predict what is going to happen in those final seconds of a round. It's impossible to plan that far ahead. But knowing what you are able to do and what you're capable of doing, and knowing your teammates will be able to rely on you, is exactly what makes Siege, and that's what we've all come to love. Those clutch moments playing in comp are never possible without an outstanding IGL directing you where to go. Now, you can improvise as much as you want, but it comes down to that direction of your leader.
Yeah, it's identifying mini games, and even those identifications are going to come during the reveal phase. You guarantee 4 operators, so you can use that to pinpoint what you want to do, where you want to push from, and also you can just take some gunfights and win that outright. Freak GN. Well, he's been living up to part of that name, the GN portion, as he is just being ignited in every single twist and turn. He is the opening death for Synthetic constantly, and he is a great player. He is a great fragger, but today he's just not really found his foothold. And again, he's more than comfortable on, this style, this Jaeger Ash role, but maybe it's just the waves being created by Max Hilly's recent departure from the team, where he has to, play into a strat, where he's used to, but also hasn't actually been playing.
Exactly. And I really want to highlight these opening kills. Mr. B being able to take out the smoke emote frees so much utility up as Tidal goes through the plant. They have dedicated so much more utility to this 90 hold, and they are finally starting to deal with this clash as much as they are able to, utility permitting. Now we're going to have X-Stars now pushing up towards main stairs. Kills to take the Cade, who was ready. Spiff having a huge double kill. This could easily end Tidal, ending the match here and now. While it's going for the plant, it will be successful. 2v2 post-plant. Poison and Spiff, last 2 players alive. That will be Poison finding the kill onto Waltz. All of the reasons we have seen him gun before. But with that clash on the board, she will be able to slowly creep up and take back their sight with the diffuser down. Pushing up, shots will spray out, and Smith will get the triple kill for the round. That is Synthetic taking it 8-6.
Spiff's coming from In Control Nation, and he's going to live up to that .inc tag perfectly. He was in control in every single aspect of this round. A strong showing by the newest member to the Synthetic roster. A strong series, to say the least, for both of these teams. Tidal played well, but their IGLing mistakes, their identification errors that they are making, on particularly on their planes and games, attacking executes, it would cost them in their end. Poison on that clash. He's a master at everything he does, whether it's those Gigabrain IGL calls or just being an oppressive wall of British screaming anger. He's done a great job of that. And again, this is a lesson for Tidal to be able to say, look back and, identify from the overhead perspective, not just from their in-server perspective of what went wrong for them. And I have to say, Synthetic, with 2 new faces to their team, Proco subbing in last week, they have done a great job adjusting to one another.
I want to highlight that astronomy hold, because we saw I played a maximum amount of times throughout the game, and it had a 100% win rate. And it all came down to denying that 90 corridor with that clash. And you mentioned Poison on it. With him being the IGL, he has all that information. He has such a clear idea of what's going on during the round, and that directed him to be able to tell his players exactly what was going to happen. So just an absolute masterclass of a hold, and major respects to Synthetic for that win, and just major props to Tidal as well, because they put up an amazing fight.
That they did, but my friend, we're gonna have to step away for 5 minutes so we set up our Group A series. One more game of Rainbow Six Siege still on the evening, so keep this tab open. We won't be going anywhere. See you soon. Hello, we have returned once again. It's still UPL in week number 3. We saw Group A playing earlier, and now actually, we saw Group B playing earlier. Now it's going to be Group A taking the pitch. We're still waiting for a couple players to trickle on in through our lobby, which seems to be the case with Rainbow Six Siege, but sometimes you just have to wait. My name is Chief Cass once again, and Binks will also be joining me, my friend. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. We just saw a very close game between Synthetic and Tidal, and I think that's exactly what we're hoping to see through Toys and Phantom. It is going to be a close one.
Now, why we wait for some players, we were talking about our stall tactics earlier, and I want to go back to a point that I was making earlier. And this is going to be kind of the insert chief podcast for a hot second. But those Jaeger changes. People on Twitter are crying, people on Reddit are crying, and all I have to say is keep filling the water with your salty tears because the Jaeger nerfs are actually needed. Because you should not have the best gun in game and the best utility in game. Like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, you give them an AR platform, and which inherently in every single FPS is going to be the most loved game because we are a Western civilization. Everything we use is based off the AR platforms. So, of course, you're going to gravitate towards a 416. And you give them a gun that the generalized population will love. It hits like a truck, at least it used to. It had an ACOG, so it made everyone love it even more.
Oh my goodness.
And it just doesn't make sense when his gadget needs to be in every single series and game you play. Like, we always joke, you're trolling if you're not bringing a Jaeger, because it's kind of true.
He is an extremely powerful up, and we even saw him reworked not too long ago. If, in case you weren't around and you're new to the Siege scene, he used to be able to catch 2 separate projectiles of utility with his device at a time, and then they would just be completely burnt out for the round. Now, I'm not sure if you were able to Jaeger trick them, so correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless, this allowed you to stack all 3 up on a corner, and you would be able to block 6 pieces of utility.
So there was a time where you could actually ADS juggle and it would reset the fuse, and that was patched out, and now you can ADS juggle again. So like, people are saying, oh, Jaeger's gadget was nerfed. There are pro players that are saying that it was actually not a buff, not a nerf, but an overall rework. There's nothing wrong with that because it forces an attackers into a swift execute. Because if you don't execute quickly, you don't capitalize on the hold that you made burning an ADS, the ADS is going to reactivate. And now you're going to have to repeat that step. Your incredibly crucial frag grenade, Ash breaching round, Zofia breaching round is going, or even Gone 6 is going to be grabbed midair, and you have to start that process over again. You do not have the luxury of utility to waste. And that's why those Jaeger changes could be extremely, effective. Now, this is not coupling the now interaction between the Womai pancakes and Jaeger ADSs, which actually you talked about earlier, where if a Womai pancake grabs something in midair and the ADS shoots it, well, that pancake is now completely wasted. So again, there's some nice give and takes, and you even add a Rooney and her gates into that, and it becomes quite a wall, but not what it was, not as impressive as it once was.
Now, we're actually going to see a very key point of this played out in our meta constantly, mainly because of just that combination of taking all 3. And it has put a stop to basically the 20-second meta. Like, we see like this 30-second meta now, because if you try to throw all your utility in that 20 seconds, just alone in the time it takes to destroy an Aruni gate, you can destroy every single piece of utility if it's all thrown at the same time. And I really want to point that out. Pro players, if you spam the flashbang charge through an Aruni gate, with the amount of throw time it takes and the amount of delay, you're going to end up burning both of your flashbangs with 1 Aruni gate, which is just crazy.
My favorite thing to watch is players doing that, and they're like, all right, ADS, or not ADS, flashbang goes down range, and they run straight to the gate, and they die.
I know.
They're just like, oops. You gotta wait, have some restraint.
Give it a second.
You're talking about the 20-second meta. I've always had a beef with that saying because it was never really, who cares if you're executing in 20 seconds? Because you need 2 seconds for a successful execute. All you do is you grab your laptop and you place it on the ground. That takes 2 seconds. If you've done your due diligence on the round, you don't need it. Now, obviously, there's some factors that make it difficult for you to do that. Burning ADSs, burning the Womai pancakes, destroying the deployable shields. But still, I've always just had a beef with that 20-second meta usage, because if you're actually executing with 20 seconds left on the clock, that's more than enough time to be successful. And that's always something that I've had. But if we want to talk more about changes that are coming to Rainbow Six Siege, well, Ace is going to be losing his smoke grenades, which I'm on board for, because Thermite is going to have them. But we also
I have honestly, if I can vent for a second, I miss the days. I'm a Thermite main. I'm not gonna lie. I see Ace on the board, and I'm like, I'm eyeing up Thermite. I'm like, I got your elite. I've been running you for years. But
So
I'm so happy about it.
Yep.
It's such a pleasant change.
Now, we're going to have map bans on the screen come up momentarily, but I just want to say, also, as a Thermite main, I was joking earlier in our last game, angle grip ACOGs are OP, and that's because as a former, or still currently a boomer IGL, the only thing I can play is somebody who drones and somebody who hard breaches. So I'm relegated to the Thermite as well. The problem is, and the opportunity cost of utility is something that we have to look into when it comes to Thermite picking up those smoke grenades, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I'm ever going to run smoke grenades. I'm going to run flashbangs because I need to burn 80 yeses. And speaking about setting the house on fire, the newest addition to the competitive Rainbow Six Siege pool, Chalet. The French Alps are going to be where we do battle.
Man, oh man, we were talking about the utility meta, and there is no better map to talk about it than on Chalet, with how much Aruni is used, and just the combination. I think we'll see a Wamai ban. If these teams are not looking to play the utility, we could so easily see a Wamai or even a Jaeger ban on this map, and that is just mind-blowing to me, mind-boggling to say the least.
And the thing is, with Chalet being so new, we actually don't really know where we're going to have our bans actually be, because we've seen players elect to remove somebody with deployable shields, looking at you, Mr. Goyo. And to build on that a little bit more, Sledge is going to fit in that niche meta in both regards, because he's going to have access to the sledgehammer, which is going to remove the ceiling, which will give the other attackers access to blowing up those shields, or he can just do it himself with his frag grenades.
Exactly, and they hate the SAS. I want to highlight, Sledge was a little bit of a weird ban for me. I wasn't expecting to see it. I was expecting to see a hard breach, but with that Thatcher gone, that leaves a Maverick on the board, as well as every single other hard breach. And Mira now gone, this looks like it's going to be just an explosive nightmare for the defenders.
And there's no surprise that hard breachers actually made it through the ban phase, because in professional play, we've only seen, well, the basement bomb site actually turn into the quaternary bomb site. Professional teams just aren't bringing it out. Now, if you're playing anything that is, like Plat 2, 3600 ELO, you know that everybody and their mother loves to bring out downstairs in their basement, but that's just not the case in professional play. And it comes down to how the attackers take map control, in particular, how the defenders are incapable of holding that map control. The attackers can insert in any number of positions, whether or not it's from library, whether or not it is from solar, or even from trophy. And they just take vertical play, and basement is going to be opened up wide. And to make that story even more sweet is the attackers don't even need to enter in the building. At least a couple of them can sit outside by snowmobile playing ridiculously long angles, and the defense won't be able to comfortably sit and hold those positions. Even if they set up deployable shields, they will be removed from above, or if anything, they'll be destroyed from outside. And that's actually led to a rise of Zero coming in, because you don't need active play like something like an air jab or a track stinger, where you can just have somebody relegated to camera watch duty and flipping on your iPhone like you're flipping on Tinder.
Exactly, just swiping left or swiping right. And you know what? Those defenders are looking pretty cute, so much that you might want to take them right off the board to begin with. And
5 seconds remaining.
I'm not wrong. Regardless, we're going to be seeing the bar game room, and one of my favorite points to bring up every single time we go to this site is trench warfare. Now, we talked about seeing loved ones. Anytime there's a war, loved ones are someone you don't get to see. and you really are fighting. You're digging in those trenches of piano. This piano doorway proves to be a thorn in each team's side, just wanting to maintain that control of that exact channel throughout the map. Now, normally we see the Aruni contesting this as well as every single, at times, even all 3 Jaeger charges, but it will be debatable if that will be the case to start.
Well, Gio's going to go off the board instantaneously as he's flanking and trying to roam over by trophies, stuck over in split, and now very much dead. Now, you're talking about not seeing loved ones in war, but we are in the French Alps. And, you know, the French being under siege in multiple world wars, you know, they had to go through resistance. And, well, that meant their family was fighting. So I will insert that as a counterpoint to your argument from earlier. So, suck it, Binks.
Bah ouais, je pense vraiment, I think that Rainbow Six is a perfect example of exactement how to play in the French Alps, and La Belle France is the perfect place. Regardless of my accent, they're going to be spotting out the Cade at the top of Chimney. He's going to be playing there all nice and stuck as he'll take some damage, as well as Jaiko trying to hold down top of Fireplace Stairs, and as well as top of these blue stairs. This vertical control, extremely important in their defense.
Fortunately, this round hasn't quite devolved like this cast has, and actually going to evolve into something better for Phantom Legion, as it's going to be the refrag, well outside the refrag window, 60 seconds too late, but still just as impactful. Matt Bonger, one of the flashiest members of Trust Player Squad, unable to participate, and the worst part about that engagement was the fact that he lost all of his utility. A double swing by Phantom Legion, and Cat, the substitute in this series, is now going to fall. Members of Trust Player Squad, they're being knocked down one by one. It is no secret that this map has gone incredibly attacker-sided, but at least in the first showing of round 1, Trusting Your Squad, they're stumbling at every turn. It's now 1 against the world as Phantom Legion wraps him up nicely.
Trench warfare. I'm telling you, I'll keep saying it. That's trench warfare right there. If you're not telling me that is what you saw in World War I, you have the attackers mindlessly throwing their bodies at the defenders, trying to take a piece of land and constantly throwing body after body, then I don't know what trench warfare is.
Well, you asked if I saw trench warfare in World War I, and I know I'm accused of being a boomer in the scene. I was not around during World War I. Just letting you know that. I know Scott, who's also a caster here, would like to say on the contrary of that, but indeed, I was not born in the 1900s. So
now
there's a plus side of that.
Very hard to believe. I think you guys can start making the Reddit threads, put it on Twitter. We all know that Chief is more than a boomer. He has leveled up from being a boomer, man. He's just exploding every single day. I think that's the best way to put it. We can't even give him his own classification.
I like that. I mean, I guess I just broke biology if I am beyond the classification system, so I'll take that as a win. Biology was built to be broken.
Biology was built to be broken, if we're being honest.
That is true. There's actually, I mean, biology is fascinating. I took a ton of biology classes in college, and they're the most interesting things in the world. I can go down the rabbit hole of biochem and anthropology because it's probably the most interesting subject. But you know what else is interesting?
Please don't put me to sleep,
no, don't worry. I wasn't going to. It's going to transition back over to Chalet, which is just as interesting. Because again, we consider this map being attacker-sided. Now, our sample size is still low, but if we have statistic significance, well, it's 10 play days. And so far, we have had 10 play days across multiple regions, not in one, but still enough to say, hey, this map is least attacker-sided in the scene. But what does that mean for Trusting Your Squad? Well, that means they're going to have to find a strong place to take that map control. And right now, judging by where they are putting their troops, it is going to be another library execute. Cat was able to get the opening duel back into round 1, but no members of Phantom Legion are yet presenting themselves. And here comes that vertical play that Trusting Your Squad has to set up. But first, have to have some hard breach activity. Unfortunately for them, Ace is in play.
Exactly. Ace being able to throw his Selma breaching charges from such far distances is exactly what makes it such a viable device, and why we see him selected over, in a lot of cases, that Habana or even the Thermite, because he has to go right up to the wall.
Unfortunate for Cat, he's now meleeing the wall outright. Why aren't you rotating somebody that has range hard breach? This is one of the byproducts of having Sledge banned. And look at who banned that operator. It was Phantom Legion. Their whole macro strategy was to use Castle as an apex throughout their rounds and force Trust on your squad to break that utility down, either with ranged hard breach, sacrificing crucial utility that won't be used on deployable shields down the road, or just outright melee it into oblivion. Now, Trust on your squad, they have control of the south, they've had it for a while, but they're unable to convert it into any tangible control. Members are falling left and right, but Tristan, an incredibly aggressive play, doesn't look the right direction, and that's going to be now Trust on your squad into control. The reverse Uno card slaps Phantom Legion. They get far too aggressive with their man advantage, and now they're the ones at the disadvantage.
Exactly. Now it's stuck in a 3v2. That will be a double kill for Cordell, and we are now stuck in a 1v3. Geo now stuck with Aruni, and they will not happen. Cordell taking his third for the round, and that is just, as you said, I think that's the Uno reverse card. You have to hold down your man advantage. You can't throw bodies at the problem. It's exactly what ruined Toys that first round, and once again, it's coming back to bite them.
And Phantom Legion's defense was strong. It did a lot of things well. The problem is, you can't, as you said, throw bodies at the problem, but that's not really what I have issue with. It's the fact that they played it aggressively. If you have the man advantage, you play it passively. You use the map as that strength. You force now Trust on your squad, who has a large man disadvantage, to continue on the endeavor of clearing out that top floor. But the moment you start to just take haphazard and just unbridled gunfights, you could lose those gunfights. Phantom Legion prompted 3 members of their team to swing, and the 3 swingers lost their gunfights. Imagine if Phantom Legion went for a strategy where they just maybe gave up that control or fell back one more buffer room. Trust on your squad, well, they'll have a little bit more control to their name, but they have to repeat those steps. That was a free gifted round by Phantom Legion. They put their players on a golden platter. They knelt before Trust on your squad, and they said, here are my players. Please remove them from the server.
I mean, the French are known for their delicacies and their hospitality when serving a meal. I just wasn't expecting it to be this juicy and this free. You normally expect a bigger price to pay that Toys didn't really have to fork up. So I'm a bit jealous on that end. But we're going to see them go and reattempt not the kitchen site, but a hold upstairs inside of both office and master bedroom.
Now, it's going to be the exact opposite way of holding this bomb site. We saw the vertical play from above from Phantom Legion, and now it's actually going to be the vertical play, but from underneath through that kitchen bomb site. It is going to be facilitated by the Aruni punch holes, and if Trust on your squad elects to go from a vault in through trophy, well, they're going to have a gunfight from the solar stairs, as well as players sitting over by dining room. Now, Jaiko is actually in a very dangerous position. He left the wall unreinforced. He's going to go down but not out, and Phantom Legion can't rotate over to help him because there are members of Trust on your squad on the solar windows, and if somebody were to come in through dining room, well, Cat's sitting on that angle as well. Jaiko is a dead man in this spot unless some Hail Mary flank that Phantom Legion would pull out. That won't happen. It's actually going to be the frag grenade. The pin of that is going to be pulled.
That gives the man advantage to Toys on the attacking side, and with Frost, I'm not sure she was able to get all of her utility down in time. Cordell getting into a long interaction with Geo, both of them going to be lit up severely. However, Cordell coming out slightly on top with Geo lit up to around 5 health points remaining. He is going to be assisted by Bait holding down a long angle inside of dining room, but it does not matter as all the players of Toys have shifted their focus to the second floor.
The utility consumption behind this piano is going to be incredibly impressive, and Buzz is going to use it perfectly. As he gets that kill into Cordell, the refrag once again now being established. and both these teams at the same man count at 4 apiece, and the vertical play is now going to start to work through. Rooney is going to miss it entirely. She's now isolated in the solar corner towards the west, not droned out. Cat's going to haphazardly push up, spotting one, but the bullets are going to be shut down. Cat was still able to take the gunfight against Buzz, and Jordan is going to now fall off the face of the earth. That was Trust on your squad. They had the man advantage, but now they're going to be at a disadvantage. Diffuser is surrendered over by the solar stairs, and that's going to be a full rotation by Trust Only Your squad, made worse, and Matt against 3.
Triss is going to spray onto the final players of Matt Bongers. He will get into a quick altercation with Geo, although he was at 5 health. It doesn't matter if you're tapping heads. He's going to find 2 on that round. Might I add, being lit up with 5 health points remaining.
Trust Only Your squad is going up and down. Actually, both of these teams are going up and down on the way they're taking gunfights, their overall map control. And it's hard to say if it's just Chalet being a new map where both teams aren't going to have as much experience on. Sure, they can be scrimming it a lot, but when you compare to a map like Clubhouse, Cafe, teams have been playing that map since day one. I mean, Clubhouse was the first map to be reworked. Before they even called it reworks, they called it map buffs at that time. So any comp player has had so much experience on Club that they're just going to be ingrained in their skull. Where Chalet, while legacy comp map back in year 1, it has gone away from the meta. And it was reworked so severely that it's not anywhere close to the original iteration. So teams are going to struggle. And both these rosters are kind of showing those footholds just falling down the wall a little bit.
Yeah, just I think that there are clear holes in the lineup, and just holes. For example, I think a key part of that would be the Frost not knowing her positioning, and then completely the opposite for the team. Just the Aruni, I believe that was on the side of Phantom. The Aruni that was alive and able to take out the Buck or the Maverick late round. That just came down to misdroning and not knowing the areas to look when pushing up those Delirium stairs.
Even if you discount what happened on Solar, that west nook and cranny just ratting in that corner, you have to be prepared for somebody to swing you from the big bathroom. Because let's go back to Buzz playing that Jaeger role on piano. It is a very good assumption to make that he could have rotated to piano. Now, Cat will take that win against Buzz, but during that gunfight, he didn't actually know who he was really shooting at because it's just like, oh no, somebody's in my crosshair. I must execute on him. And again, that just comes down to the pacing of these rounds. It seems like both these rosters are just knee-jerk reacting to what is happening. And that's a dangerous proposition for both teams to be in, because I always like to say you're in control of a round when you are predicting what happens. And it seems like, as mentioned, these teams are just reacting.
Yeah, I think reacting now, they might not all be boomers like you, but no matter how fast your reaction time is, a bullet to the brain, you can't react to it. If you're not holding the crosshair, if you take a 2v1 gunfight, I don't care how cracked you are. You can't have 2 people shooting at you. Even since we have the time, I can even set up a replica where we have one team here and my hand is the other one. If you're right in the middle and you're my mic, you can't shoot both of them.
The best part about that description was you froze halfway through it.
No!
You were stuck on the freeze frame of you doing this, so everything was unfortunately missed.
You know what? Basically, you can't shoot. If you're the mic, you can't shoot both of my hands. It's just not possible. You have to be extremely cracked, and boomers can't do that, and neither can all these youngsters and hippies that we're starting to see now.
So the jargon term for that is transfer kills. And if we look at games like Call of Duty, CS and Valorant even have high rates of transfer where you shoot somebody, you go to another one, transfer. Siege transfers are they just don't happen that often. When we talk about getting a double kill or a triple kill in the round, it's always somebody, oh, they got a kill 30 seconds ago, they're gonna get another kill. I mean, look at how often you actually get 2 kills back to back rolling through that kill feed. It just doesn't happen. And if it usually does, they're more or less within the same square meter of each other. So it's a pretty easy transfer to have. And again, that's just part of Rainbow Six Siege. When you're playing a tactical, realistic, in air quotes, shooter that requires you to have some level of tactics, control of a map, control of a room, playing a corner, you're just never going to have, a bunch of players in one spot for you to shoot. It just doesn't make sense from a real estate standpoint.
Yeah, and I think that it can really attest to what's called a staggered push, where if you push at the same time, you're gonna be fine. The time you see people get those huge double kills, even triple kills, is where you have someone pushing through the same doorway. And hey, I'm gonna go try to do the exact same thing as my previous teammate. Oh, I'm dead from the exact same person. Let me do the exact same thing. I'm gonna move maybe 3 meters over. Nope, I'm dead too. And it's a bit insane that people think that's gonna work, as it's the definition of insanity. But that's just what you have to. You have to work for those cross peaks and not give them the opportunity to have those highlight plays. You want to deny those at all costs.
Now, since I love terms and words, the technical term for that, the jargon word would be the fatal funnel. And I love
Fatal
to,
funnel. I love that.
right, it's a bottleneck. It goes from this to this, and everybody just stacks up and dies. You don't want to be in one of those. Siege is known for fatal funnels, as you're highlighting, and so many twists and turns. And again, it's just the structure of a Siege map compared to something like CS or Val. I mean, look at the long angles. Look at the ranged gunfights that you take in Valorant compared to Siege. I mean, Valorant is CQC or CQB at pretty much every twist and turn. Not saying that Val and CS isn't, because you definitely spray people down close quarters with AKs. But how often are you, holding an incredibly long angle with an omp, just waiting for somebody to push down mid and you fry them? I mean, the closest thing we have is a Callie on Clubhouse on the rafters of shipping docks, and she just sits out there the entire game and does nothing, because there's really no place for that type of playstyle in Siege. It just comes down to the structure of the map.
I think just being able to hold those long angles, and then at that point, if you want to apply that same concept of holding a fatal funnel or just holding that long angle, you could try to apply that to cafe. You have someone rappel upside down on the white window, and they're looking all the way down the long white hallway. You 99% of the time want that to be a Nomad or even a Sophia.
Well, unfortunately, our players, they're struggling to get into our lobbies, so we're going to have to dive over to a quick admin break. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be back with you as soon as we can. It was temporary lights out for Trust Only Squad as one of their players' router as well as all their power disconnected. But we're returning with a 5v5 per UPL rules. You're actually allowed to make hot subs if they are main members of your roster, since the substitute was the one that decided to not have their internet work. It works out perfectly for them. So, an unfortunate circumstance has actually turned into a better circumstance for Trust Only Squad as we find ourselves in the middle of round 4. And a quick correction, actually the substitute will now be stepping in. That's going to be Nomad, who's going to auto-lock. Not the Nomad, but the Ash.
Try not to get confused, Chief, because I already know that I am, and I hope that we don't see a Nomad chosen too much on the board, because, man oh man, Nomad, I think you'd be cracked on the Nomad. So, just a suggestion.
What would give you that thought?
Well, you know what? The dash and the dot at the end of the name just screams Nomad to me. Like, you know how you shoot a Nomad, then it's on the ground, and then it blows up? Just that part of the end, not the name at all, though. What about you?
What a sentence, to say the least. I know you just used words from the English language, but I'll give you, like, a D for trying to articulate why Nomad is playing Ash with a dot and a dash, so... Thank you for making me lose my already dead 3 brain cells.
A 50 or a D is considered a pass. So if I'm
Where?
passing, in percentages, D is above 50%.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you're right. It is greater than 50%.
It's a pass.
I mean, define pass.
You didn't fail. You didn't get 50% of the questions wrong. An F is below 50, making it a fail. If you win more than 50% of the rounds, and it goes the full way, that means that you did what? It means you won, especially in the game of Siege, meaning that I passed.
I mean, the semantics argument, the thing that you're overlooking is the fact that you have to define the word pass, and if we're using it as a rubric example, a 50% is nowhere near being able to pass. Now, so far, the Phantom Legion defense has been passing the test of the poking and prodding of Trust Only Squad as they're trying to find themselves a foothold over by the north side of the map. A member will vault in for Trust Only Squad. That's going to be Nomad, the new substitute for Trust, as they just eat themselves in. Little damage being dealt, but fortunately, there's still enough of them to take future gunfights.
Exactly. Triss, that is actually going to be a huge kill. Zero bringing so much active utility to the board, and now Nomad falling to the floor. He will be relegated to the benches quite quickly, and that's going to be another one for Buzz. Just kills stacking up. That was actually a different crossfire. I don't even know where those shots came out from, but just an expert positioning coming out from Phantom, and they're going to stack up onto it as Buzz is going to get his second for the round. All left up onto Cat. And Geo is going to get a double kill for the round, and that'll be a flawless as we come back for Phantom.
I was trying to find the main place that Trust Only Squad wanted to apply the pressure, and that's the problem. They never really showed what they wanted in that round. They put body count over towards the north side of the map, trying to clear in through Kitchen. but they never actually had the utility downrange to ever be successful with an execute like that. Where was the drones? They never were sent, or at least were never seen on the player that was holding dining room. And it was just members starting off with Nomad, just haphazardly vaulting in through the floor or the room
Attackers need
right
to
next to
locate and
kitchen.
defuse
And the
bombs.
same storyline would continue to pan out as more members of Trust Your Squad were just pushing in through kitchen. Again, no information plays was hurting Trust Only Your Squad at every single twist and turn. As soon as Jello lost that opening duel, it seemed like the overall communication and the coordination of Trust Only Your Squad just instantly went into another realm.
And it just fell apart player by player. And I want to highlight those crossfires because we talked about them right before the break, and it was such a master class to watch how they were executed in just
Attackers are
an
moving out
amazing
to locate
fashion
a
of
bomb
just
and defuse it.
I don't know how to put it into words. Just 3 different players holding angles from 3 different spots, and we as spectators could not even see it happening.
Again, it comes down to your drone due diligence. You're never going to push into a crossfire like that if you know the crossfire is there. It comes to your drones. And, you know, sometimes you need to change up your attack. Now, that was a bar defense, so your options are a little bit limited. But maybe you try to do a mudroom push and apply pressure on the other side of the map, cutting off crossfire. You can even, you know, do something a little bit more outlandish and doing the garage window over to the south side and using that as a long angle crossfire and just shutting down the rotations of Phantom Legion. But again, trusting your squad never went through those steps. That is what advanced was thinking. And same concept, what we're talking about in our previous series, you have to apply lessons from other maps. That lesson we're talking about, ironically, is something that you would use if you were playing on Villa.
Exactly, and moving back into this round, it has come full swing as we have Buzz holding down Piano. He will swing, light some shots onto Buck. He will be able to find one. That is Cordell now down on the floor. All as the players of Toys now try to recuperate and to swing the Sager. They'll swing only to notice that the shield is still there, has not been dismantled. Cat will fall to a flurry of bullets all the way through the Piano side. Buzz will swing and get a double kill onto Jello. Now man advantage, even more in the favor of Phantom Legion, as however Matt will fight back, taking out Triss. Bringing us to a 3v4. Sophia burning out these ADSs, trying to take out the shield. They'll swing out wide, and that'll be a triple kill for Buzz, taking out. That was Matt, and oh my goodness, he is just unstoppable. Cat and Nomad, the last 2 attackers left. They're going to be trying to make a push into office, but they are going to have to contest Buzz, who is stuck on his stationary position of Piano. He is vulnerable to the window, but it does not look like Toys will opt to go for him there.
Cat was down but not out early on, using one of those 9 lives effectively, but the 9 lives was unfortunate. Didn't allow for full HP regeneration. It's only going to be 20 HP now for Cat. It's going to be a dangerous position to be in. Bait on a bad position over by the hatch, unprepared for somebody to be pushing in from that basement hatch. And now the round, that Phantom Legion had a large man advantage. Well, it's starting to slip away from them, but they still have the advantage. Cat's now going to fall. Jaiko was the one that actually downed him early on, so able to finish that kill outright. Buzz on a flank coming in through Fireplace. One Ash is now over on the other side of the map. The flank won't be as powerful as Giorno. Still coming down those solar stairs. A swing in. That's going to be a 4K for Buzz. Perfect positioning upstairs in Piano, holding the fort down in every single turn.
4K for Buzz, and that is just absolutely phenomenal gunmanship. He was able to single-handedly repel the vertical assault of of Toys. And all 3 of those kills happened in that trench doorway, or not the trench doorway, of the Piano doorway that I'll call it trench warfare once again. He single-handedly shot off and repelled the attack of those staggering defenders. Just an absolute cluster of attackers, and I'm just amazed. Just amazing gunmanship, and major props to Phantom Legion for putting Buzz in a position to get those frags.
And, you know, what
Attackers
was
need to locate
heartbreaking
and
to
defuse
see
as many
is
bombs
Bait,
as
the
they
former
can.
member of Dallas Vendetta, first attempt just dying to the hatch. Like, you don't expect that to have, you know, an attacker occupying that square space, but at the same time, you have to expect the unexpected. And Bait was just trying to bury himself in a corner, but that's going to be a structural problem of, you know, Phantom Legion's defense, where literally vulnerable to a crossfire that they're never expecting. Maybe you just rotate yourself over to the flower box instead, because you can hold the exact same angle and you can achieve the same goal of ratting in a corner. But, you know, hindsight is 2020 at the end of the day. Now, Phantom Legion, they have had a lot of rounds in a row, 3 in a row to be precise, and we were hyping up Chalet to be attacker-sided, but it's currently panning out to be something of, you know, a defensive streak. And, you know, we have to address the elephant in the room. It could be the fact that Trustling Squad is now forced to play with one of their best fraggers, Jordan, off the board in favor of a substitute position. While, you know, Nomad seems to be a very competent player, you still want your core 5 in the server at all times.
Yeah, and he is doing his part, but as much as you can see someone fragging, you cannot recreate chemistry that has been built up. Chemistry takes time, and in order to be a well-oiled machine, you need all 5 of those components working together, not individually. And that seems to be one of the hardest part for Toys to come to terms with and work around.
We see a similar execute that Trustling Squad has done every single round, post somebody up over by that trophy window. Phantom Legion's gonna make the adjustment though, as they made 3 burner holes there to capitalize on that swing. Cordell's gonna fall, and it wasn't just one angle that was in that position. As you keep mentioning, the oppressive nature of these crossfires. Phantom Legion, they seem to have these crossfires written in every single playbook and strat that they have. Trust only a squad constantly has identification errors, unable to even spot them outright.
Yeah, moving into the final minute 30 seconds in the round, a 5v4 favoring Phantom. Things are looking more and more grim for the attackers of Toys. Zero Cam will come out and possibly spot out Jaiko, as he is now holding down the Solarium stairs. Meanwhile, Matt will go down. He will be down but not out, but Jello capitalizing onto Jaiko. It does look like Matt could possibly get revived. He's actually caught in a frost mat upstairs. Trist taking him off the board. Now a minute remaining. Man advantage still left in the hands of Phantom.
There might be a Phantom produced. There it is. Jordo's gonna find him. He buries one straight out right. It seems like Trustledeer Squad. They know where he is. They're just incapable of dealing with him. They just want to push without droning, push and just take gunfights. But again, Rainbow Six Siege is a game where information is always going to be key. And Bait, there he is, the IGL specialist, the SMG-11 specialist, taking 2 on down. You know, if we keep drawing parallels back to CS and Val, well, those are games, the primary way, particularly in CS, of getting information is by looking there with your eyeballs. In Siege, you have a plethora of utility to be able to grab information without actually using your face to check it.
That's very true, and I think that comes to town just to with the way they were playing the Zero and the inability to spot out the Frost. I believe it was I don't think it was Cat playing on the stairs. We did have a switch. That's why I was getting all confused. It was Jaiko who was playing the Frost, stuck on Solarium stairs. Being able to sit in that position for as long as they did is relatively unheard of. You need to commit at a much earlier date than that. You basically let your kill expire, and any sort of profit you would have gotten from it has now turned into a negative gain, to say the least.
This is T3. Everybody has commitment issues here. Whether or not it's staying together as a roster, that doesn't happen too often in T3. So, yeah, win some,
Sounds like
you
me
lose
and my
some.
ex, dude. Sounds like me and my ex.
Things are getting spicy. You know what? I really like the strategy that we actually see Trustledeer Squad bringing. It's going to be a reinforcement, but instead of having some type of electric unit there, or even a mute jammer, it is going to be with a Rudy Gates. And I actually spoke a little bit too soon. There will be electric units on the wall but not in the actual wall itself. It is going to be on a completely different floor. It's going to be from underneath over by dining room, and now it's a two-pronged assault that Phantom Legion is going to be forced to deal with. If they want to remove those Cade Claws, they have to do it from dining room. That Trustling Squad isn't putting an emphasis in that area currently, so Phantom Legion actually might be able to get that in an expedited manner, specifically with that Ionic clone.
Yeah, that information is so key, and just taking Ionic here will allow you to really test the waters. If you have a defender, you are basically 9 times out of 10 going to shoot that Iona, especially when you know it's a clone, to deny that info. And it is very easy to shoot since it is the size of the actual care model, but it doesn't deny the fact that it gives you such a realistic feel, and you can actually manipulate sound using Iona's clone since it reacts the exact same way a player does.
It's basically a human in non-human form. And then Iona is going to go for the swing upstairs, and, well, Trist is going to learn the lesson the hard way, slapped back by Bat Bonger, who has been on a struggle bus so far in his attacking stints. The mastermind of the M762 was silenced in just about every single push he went for. Now taking up that flex roll on defense, he's going to still have to find his way into the map. A double send of those smoke grenades. It was almost grabbed by the gate, but actually the final one was grabbed by Nadia. So it was actually all in perfect fashion. And Jello is going to have his little shield compromised relatively soon.
I don't think so. I think the players of Phantom have now waited too long. These ADSs have now re-engaged, and that is the shield. It is going to stay there for the long run. In the case of the Ace, you need to burn your utility of your drones before you burn your smoke grenades. As we see gunfights start to come out, Buzz coming alive for the round. He'll start taking out Cat as Phantom Legion are fighting back on attack. A double kill for Buzz. He'll connect onto Jello, but refragged almost immediately by Matt Bonger, as we are now locked in at a 3v2, left all up to Bait and Jaiko on Ace and Lion respectively.
Jaiko is going to have to use that Lion scan, the final one left, to guide Bait, the IGL of Phantom Legion, into the map, spotting Matt Bonger up. Matt Bonger's been in this position over by fire the entire round, and he is going to persist one more time. Bait's going to go down but not out, finished off by Nomad, but teams have to work together, and it doesn't really matter who gets the down as long as you finish off that player. Now Nomad going over to his pistol, trying to finish off what's left of Jaiko, sitting on 1 HP outside with no hope left. He's just going to play time and save his stats. That's going to be round 7. Going in favor of Trust Only Your Squad, the 4-in-a-row victory from Phantom Legion has now been stopped.
You know, Chief, I've had relationships with more communication than Phantom Legion during that round. It was just a breakdown. It was, I want to go do this. No, you go do that. I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm burning the EDS. No, you're not, honey. You're going to wait.
Who hurt
okay.
you, man? Well,
Far too many.
Far too many. Well, you're doing better than most Siege players in that regard, so I guess there's that as a bright side to that. Master Bedroom.
I am just baffled by that. If you, I want to highlight this. If you're burning a Rooney trap, you're able to use a drone. And in that case, when you're dealing with 3 different ADSs that you need to burn in the span of 10 seconds before the first one reactivates, then you need to use both of your smoke grenades to burn the ADSs, not one of them to be burning the Rooney charge. You need a dedicated drone for that. And even if that means you rotating to be on the same position as the Ash, you're not holding the crossfire, communicate that with your team, because you can't allow for that breakdown to happen. You need to be working simultaneously and with absolute uniform. Like, no room for errors when dealing with 3 ADSs.
So speaking of those ADS game, we're not going to see a single ADS. We're also not going to see a single Rooney gate either. This is quite a unique defensive strategy coming out by Trust Only Your Squad. And maybe you could bring out a Wamai if he wasn't banned. So all of the throwable gadgets that Trust Only Your Squad has in their face will land true. And what you were just talking about, these strengths and the overall assets of round 7 for Trust Only Your Squad are non-existent in this round. And this is going to be a unique storyline to pan out. Now, if we take a lesson from Phantom Legion's defense, how they're playing downstairs in kitchen, utility might not be as important. Rather, it's going to be the drone economy that's going to be the driving factor.
I definitely agree with that, but with the 15 utility, basically 15 shootable or throwable utility on the side of Phantom Legion, and possibly one more on the side of Lion taking the Gone 6, because I believe he does have access to that.
He does.
That is now 16 throwable or shootable utility that Phantom Legion are just ill-prepared to need to deal with or recover.
You can also add on that too with Mute being the only wall denier.
Oh my goodness.
We can actually have Phantom Legion start to crack open up these positions blind, and that's kind of the problem just using Mute on the wall. Players can start to get drawn out. A great combination, but look at Matt Bonger. Nobody's expecting him from the flank. His cloaking device allows him to bypass those Lion calls altogether, and Trustfully Air Squad is going to convert that chaos that Phantom Legion started into multiple picks. It's now a 2v4. That engagement took place at the 100-second mark, but now Phantom Legion is going to start to claw themselves at the brink of destruction, and they actually have full control of that top floor, so it's actually Trustfully Air Squad with an attempted retake, but they have to be careful. The remaining Nitro Cell Cordell on the pulse.
Not to mention the fact that they don't have Diffuser, and there is going to be a player holding down that side of the map. As Buzz is going to take the kill, he'll pre-fire, take out Mac Bonger, recover Diffuser, and it will come down to getting this plant inside of the office site. Rotating around, he'll plant on the master class of a desk. Very fine woodsmanship, but Buzz getting that stick on the ash. Jorno going down, Cordell with a huge nitro, denying both of them their lives. And that is going to be the side of Toys taking the round.
Oh, that's incredibly intelligent. At first, it's like, how on earth did this Nitro Cell kill? But you have to look at the propagation of that shrapnel. If it was thrown underneath that desk, the shrapnel would have gone up through the desk and not killed the planter. The thing is, if you move it back, you know, that half meter or so, now you have direct line of sight on the planter at like a 45-degree angle. The shrapnel is going to propagate out, and it's going to grab its target. That was incredibly strong game sense there. That's exactly what you need to do. And again, we're talking about pulling lessons from other maps. When you're on a brand new map in the competitive pool, that's a lesson that you have to have on console, particularly on that split bomb site where there's a plethora of positions for attackers to plant an elevated surface immune to nitro cells. You have to be very creative on the ways you get those nitro cell kills. A perfect example of that by Trustfully Air Squad. A great round victory for them. And that was another roller coaster round where the entire lobby just instantaneously disappears.
And one thing I would love to give an honorable mention to, those two huge opening kills for Matt Bonger. And it gave Toys the freedom to be able to roam around the map, to have that freedom to hold down in dining, to be able to get that C4 denial that will from Cordell that would ultimately end the round in his team's favor. By denying all of that utility of Ace, Sophia, and Lion, that is so much of what Phantom Legion was relying on for the round, whether it be droning, support, opening walls. It evaporated, just gone. And just a solid play, and it comes down to huge plays like that, those huge flanks, capitalizing on the mistakes of your opponent, that you are able to win on a new map like Chalet.
Now, part of that water cycle, though, is coming back down to earth. It's a condensation and that rain aspect. Now, Phantom Legion, they're up in this series by 2 rounds, and it's their turn to set up a thunderstorm and actually start to find their impacts, because they're able to have a nice burst of electricity as the clap goes off, but after that, they're not really having that tornado. And that storyline just continues to get worse. Trist haphazardly pushing out through K9, taking a gunfight without information. Now, that was spurred on for the fact that Phantom Legion is about the halfway mark in their rounds, and they don't have control of the upstairs, but still, you have to do your due diligence on the roam clear.
That's exactly it. And if you allow the players of Toys to constantly roam around, they will punish you for it. Nomad being a perfect instance of that, he is still holding down his ground inside of office, spraying it onto a red ping. However, the player's already dispersed from that old info. Buzz spraying out. He wants to clear out the Jaeger, but no. Nomad's going to find his second for the round, shutting down Buzz. Lion Scanner, EE1G will come out as sprays from Bait will spray into office, not being able to line up either shots. Nomad still stuck inside office, proving to be a thorn in Phantom Legion's side. He is delaying so much time. He's going to see the Lion swing out. That's going to be a triple kill for Nomad as he takes out the Lion of Jaiko. Holding down office, he's going to be swinging out onto the ace, taking a bunch of damage. He's now lit up at 50, but he has done his job. A swing on the bottom. Cordell is going to pick up onto Geo. Bait takes out Nomad, gets a double kill to his name, taking out Cat. Now stuck in a 1v3, 30 seconds, not looking too good. He does not have the hard destruction he needs. He does have Diffuser, and this could be winnable if he isolates his 1v1s. He'll begin to make his attempt, pushing down the blue stairs, spraying into Games Room, and Bar will swing up, holding his door. The swing from Cordell will be successful. He'll get his second for the round. A team ace on the side of Cordell and Nomad, really getting the work done.
It's good positioning coming out by Trust Only Your Squad. At the end of the day, they're able to capitalize on that, convert that into their mechanical skill, and take victories on the one-on-one engagements. And that's really been the motif for every single one of our teams, at least so far that we've seen in this series. It is just the defenders being so darn oppressive, and what made Chalet oppressive in an attacker-sided manner was how the attackers took the map control, and just the ability to storm the keep and just slaughter everything in their path. The thing is, the lack of information, the lack of true coordination to deal with this roam
Attackers
is
need to
hurting
locate and
both of
defuse
these
bombs.
teams on attack. And we're about to the point where we're going to see Phantom Legion need to start to change something up because they haven't won a single round on attack. We're talking about identification errors and Bait on Phantom Legion. It's making far too many of them. When you see a minigame as Nomad running around with Jaeger shooting all of your players, how do you deal with that? And you as an IGL directly have to ask yourself, how am I going to deal with this? Well, you can say, well, I can go for a flash dump
10
and just
seconds to go.
push him. That's an option, but that's not the best option. Maybe that's
5
your
seconds
last-ditch effort option. What would be better if you apply a multi-angle cross.
Attackers must locate
Now,
and
how would
defuse
you
the
do
bomb.
that? Well, you might have to
Bomb
repel in
located
one
by
of the
attackers.
east windows. You're going to have a successful hard breach, and you're also going to have control of the piano windows. That becomes a little bit more difficult, but it's a lot more moving pieces to get to that scenario. Now, it will also get complicated when you have two roamers up there, but again, that's going to be on Bait, who's, coming from first attempt, has sometimes fallen in these pitfalls before.
Yeah, and moving back into this round and refocusing on exactly what Phantom Legion is planning to do, we're going to see something that is relatively unheard of as a huge commit comes onto the site. Beta is going to be going for the Planet-side trophy. It will be uncontested kills trading out each side. However, Phantom Legion coming out on top, and within the first 2 minutes, the diffuser will be planted. Now down to 40 seconds, and we're going to see Toys need to retake the site. Nomad and Cat have proven themselves to be capable in the past, but can they retake an entire site?
Defenders have
One
eyes
with
on the
many
diffuser.
cross
Attackers
angles,
need
to say the
protect it.
least, and 4 different eyes watching it. It is not looking likely for them. Nomad rotating up the blue and library stairs. Meanwhile, Cat is going to be going for his peek out onto the double window, but on the side of Phantom, all they have to do is play time. He's going to place his shield. If this works out, he could get this defused. A double kill for Geo, but it will not work out. He won't be able to hold it. And the knife from Bait, a huge big brain play attempted by Cat, but it was foiled by the hands of Phantom Legion. I can't with that. I'm sorry. I can't.
Words cannot articulate what we just saw there. Now, actually, that worked out surprisingly well.
It worked. If Nomad had stayed
Yep.
and held his cross peak, that would have worked. That
Yep,
is crazy.
I'm glad you touched on that because that's the point I was going to make. Because if you were able to shut down the main insertion from that window, because there is nobody playing from above. Common wisdom says Phantom Legion is going to be holding upstairs, but they actually vacated the bottom site entirely, and that was going to be a pretty easy defuse if you played together as a team. But that was what a way to go to match point. Phantom Legion, we were just
There you go.
talking about.
I need to highlight that. Geo, we respect that, and that just gives me respect for you, Geo, because that was a really big brain play. So I tip my hat to you, Toys, especially Cat. You may be going 1-7 in this game, but you got a big brain, my friend.
Attackers have located the
Cojones
bomb.
too, to say the least. All right, just to put that into like perspective again, that's what you would see in like silver level elo when somebody's dropping down from like their 4500 account to like a 2200 account just to meme, and you just want to be on the stuffing out of the roster that you're playing against. That's literally what was just done.
5 seconds
And the
left.
fact that it was so close to working is just absolute
Attackers are
insanity
heading
to
out
me.
to
But
defuse a bomb.
sadly, it didn't work out. Now, Phantom Legion will not be prepared, or will be not rushing. There's no way they duplicate that style of play. What they will have to do, though, is a methodical roam, something that they've been struggling on. And it's going to stem with how they take the control. Now, Trustling Squad has no roamers on the first floor, so a swift droning will actually give Phantom Legion full control instantly.
Trist will fire out towards Fireplace. There's looking for the Cade of Matt Bonger, but he will not be able to find it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, this aggressive commit from Toys in the form of Buzz, he'll be pushing towards Piano. Now, Toys know the way that Phantom Legion have been playing this site, and they know that they have free reign over this entire master side. Now, just confirming that info, they'll send out a quick drone and swiftly start to make their play into this Piano take. 2 minutes now remaining. They're going to shoot out from down below. I don't know what the point of this hole is. It could be for a Maverick grenade, but I'm just confused at this point.
I think that's a strong place to be in, just being constantly confuzzled on what's happening, but it's going to hopefully be trustful in your squad to have full control of this round, knowing exactly every single twist and turn, and knowing where this pressure is going to be applied. The P10 Roni was being shown over by the westmost stairs, but sadly, it has an optic. Run that gun with 9 sight. It's quite delicious to say the least. Matt Bonger is such a standout performer. We said that multiple times, but he's been quite quiet in this series. 6-6 is unusual for him. He's always a double-digit player, but it's coming down to his aggressive nature where he's just being put on islands by himself with no friendlies to help him out. Now, Trist is also going to be that exact same scenario. Going down but not out, but he does have enough players to be able to rotate and grab him back up to 20 HP.
With a minute remaining, this is going to be a key and pivotal point as they needed this kill onto Trist. Because having 5 players, we know that Phantom Legion loves to work with their player count. And being able to commit onto a site like Bar Gaming, this is going to be huge, having that extra angle to hold. Nomad will eat up a bit of damage from the Fireplace stairs, but he'll be able to actually finish off Trist. Capital Firebolt being detonated inside of the library room. He will not be able to connect onto the player of Cat. He will continue his hold and stay there. Buzz holding down. This has just been an absolute blunder from Phantom Legion as kills erupting. Jello and Cat both finding the board for the round, and just a sea of blue. Toys coming alive.
That was the power of the rush in round 10. They weren't prepared for it, so they just go back to their roots at round 11. That's going to be the victory for them. And now we find ourselves going over to round 12. Our first series of the day, well, that was another overtime stint where Synthetic was able to get the best. But will that be another storyline, another overtime, or is it Phantom Legion's opportunity to close things out? It is going to be a change-up in the rotation of bomb sites. In round 8, we'd actually see the Master Bedroom be played. And now it is going to be a change-up that order. As mentioned, it's now going to be Kitchen as the last bomb site of regular play. What does Trust Only Your Squad have up their sleeves after this changeup?
Now, moving into this final round, I think the biggest part comes down to momentum. Both these teams have proven their capabilities on this bar as well as kitchen bomb site. I would love to highlight how much mind and strength goes into these long matches. And if you're on the side of Toys, this comeback story, you need to dig deep. You have to find that extra little will to make that play that we've seen Cat play with using that shield as creatively as possible to find and make those big brain plays, because you can't just be thinking with your gun at this point, because that is simply not enough.
You know, something we haven't really touched up on enough is the use of the deployable cameras, bulletproof cameras. We've seen Trust on Your Squad bring them out multiple times, and actually multiple operators in a round bringing them out. Usually, you want to have barbed wire because it's an information source, where if you hear somebody coming up a stairwell, whether or not it's the actual warm body of a person or just their drone, you can alert, you can shoot it, and if they're mailing it, well, that's still just as much information. Now, you can say, well, bulletproof camera. It's a camera. Of course, it's going to provide information. The thing is, it only can watch a certain area, and with barbed wire, you can cover larger areas, because you can put one barbed wire in a stairwell and another barbed wire in a completely different stairwell, where one bulletproof camera can only cover one of those stairwells. But also, one strong suit of those bulletproof cameras are the fact that it forces the attackers to burn utility. It makes you burn at least one flashbang and then one explosive device, because if you send a coveted explosive device down range and it gets grabbed by an ANES, it has been wasted entirely.
This round, we have 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining. Toys have been very methodical with how they're pushing onto this kitchen site. Now, they were not able to actually get vertical control last time. However, that will be a big change, as Nomad will fall without a kill to his name. This will also force the rotate of Matt Bonger down these Solarium stairs, unless he does choose to go for a repeat, which may be ill-advised due to now the coverage that Phantom Legion has taken over the vertical site.
Hard Breach is going to go off to a Selma Charges, crack opening the south wall of that B bomb site. That's going to be an SMG-11 of Cordell, now forced to hold this position. A long angle with this 17-round gun is going to be difficult to control, and Bait, the IGL, is able to control his assault rifle even better. Now the man count is getting better for Phantom Legion, refragged out by one by Jello, but he still has a large endeavor in front of him, trying to swing off this shield or this reinforced wall. It's going to be his fixed apex position, the only strong suit he has, and it's going to get better, but not off his back, off the back of Matt Bonger.
Now kills now continuing to erupt, this time in the favor of Toys. Cat will take out Geo, all left up to Trist and Jaiko in a 2v3 with 26 seconds. This could be the victory for their team, or it could spell overtime and disaster. It all comes down to these 15 remaining seconds. Trist in position for vertical play, and it will leave Jaiko to push and solo smoke out the plant, as that will be Jello spraying his shots. However, he will go down to Trist, being able to nail his consistent one. The crossfire comes out from Cat, playing inside a bedroom. That will go down, but just purely off a few seconds of time, Cat will win it out. We're going to see overtime between Toys and Phantom Legion.
That round was far too close for comfort, but once again, Phantom Legion is showing that they're strong with their ability to get the opening duel. They're strong with how they have that initial execute. But after that, when it comes down to the hardest part, the final push into the bomb site, putting that bomb down, Phantom Legion just struggles in that process. It's like they forget what they're doing. They don't know where to apply additional pressure. That means that Phantom Legion needs to rotate somebody over to the trophy window, per se, or continue on that vertical play to the point where you force members of Trust on Your Squad back so far that they're now playing in trophy, and that's why you have somebody post up on that window. Or if at minimum you can do the kitchen corridor and have a vault in that way. Now you have a 90-degree crossfire, but that's such a no man's land out there that it's such a difficult place to be in. And just a reminder from previous, UPL seasons, we're no longer doing unlimited overtime. It is going to be up into round 15, so you use best 2 out of 3. Moving forward, that's going to put Trustful Your Squad in that driver's seat since they have, well, had the most recent stints on defense. However, they were both 4-2 splits on defense.
10 seconds left.
Being able to really show off their defensive capabilities, especially
5
in what
seconds to go.
would seem like such an attacker-favored meta on Chalet, they have constantly proved the meta wrong, which makes it extremely hard to predict. Phantom Legion being the one to start on attack, unless they've learned from their mistakes during the regular playtime, then it could spell absolute disaster for their roster.
And just to remind you that both of these teams had victories in their previous play weeks. They're both sitting on 3 points, and one of them will be moving up to 6, and the other will not be. Now, Phantom Legion has posted up a lot of their troop count over here by Garage. This might be another rush. It is going to be a Maverick Force going off for a silent breach. Matt Bonger's fully alerted. He's going to call for additional help, as it's going to be Nomad down here. But the rush, the full send, and through the snowmobile, Garage is going to stop dead in its tracks. Now, the loser of those duels will be Matt Bonger and the rest of Trustful Your Squad, as he's now relegated to taking the rest of this round at below 17 HP. But there is some bright side. He is alive and well and able to use his weaponry to good use.
Not to mention his C4, especially with vertical play being so present on a site like Barn Gaming, or even just default sites being so accessible to C4s, we could see that make an explosive impact in the round. Jello will open up the round, taking out Triss. He will be the first one to go. Your Sophia, not being able to use as much of her utility as you would like to see, puts Phantom in yet another undesirable situation. Nomad holding down this dining hallway, he is going to be waiting for any vault in from Garage, but there you go, Jello once again lighting up the scoreboard, playing on the pulse, although we're going to see a fight back from Phantom, getting 2 refrags and a double refrag again. What is this? That will be Cat, Matt Banger, and Cat once again, just going absolutely ham. They are denying every single one of Phantom Legion's push before they can even start.
In hopes of not sounding a broken record, Phantom Legion is struggling in every way on attack. Both of these teams have, and that's the problem with the 15-round overtime. It's whoever has the 2 rounds on defense puts themselves in the driving seat of overtime. Now, Trusting Your Squad, they're going to be moving over to attack. It's going to be the same bomb site Bar Gaming, the primary for both of these teams. And what is going to be the changeup? Is Trustful Your Squad going to close out this series on their final attacking stint? Or is it going to be Phantom Legion trying to keep their hopes alive and sending themselves over to round 15, where the bracket will be reset, but there'll be only 1 round left of competitive play? So far, everything looks more or less standard. Now, an interesting point to make, Maverick was not receiving play during the first 12 rounds, but now as we enter in overtime, both these teams are starting to use this hard breacher.
I think that just being able to have Maverick and the fact that how do you counter a Maverick? You can't. He can burn through any bit of utility with the exception of a Rooney charge, but there is no Rooney charge on the table. He can burn through a castle barricade, he can get rid of your shields, your barbed wire. Regardless of whatever utility you bring, Maverick has a way to deal with it.
That's a fair point to make. He can go through utility. He literally just Swiss cheeses and cuts through metal walls, but it is at a cost. He is vulnerable when he does it. He doesn't have a weapon that can really dish out damage at range. You can impact grenade him. You can C4 him, and especially with new changes calling through, being alluded to by Ubisoft, where electricity will no longer destroy gadgets, you could just nitro cell a Maverick flat out and he'll insta-die because of the propagation through the wall. Now, that isn't yet the case, but something we have to look forward to, and cunning IGLs and players are going to bury that knowledge in their back pocket and have that as an asset moving forward. Giorno's going to drop straight into a drone, pulling out the pin of a nitro cell, but instead the MPX is going to go for the swing. He runs out of ammunition, and Cordell, a free gifted kill off too much of a
A bomb has been
pre-fire,
located.
and that is a dangerous position for Phantom Legion to be in. The hopes of this series will reside on a victory for Phantom Legion, but now they're going to have to achieve that victory with a man disadvantage.
We are starting to see why Chalet is so in favor of the attacks, as toys are now picking it apart piece by piece, taking player by player as they go. Cat, being the solo push through this piano side, will try to do as much damage as he can. We see that his Maverick canister is being spent on this castle barricade, really opening it up for any sort of peek. He's going to be met with the face of Buzz, and he will spray right out. That's diffuser down on piano. Toys, what are you doing giving that up?
It's again the age-old prodigy. Prodigy. Wow, that was not the word I was going for. Anyways, as prophecy of if you don't drone, you don't know what's to the side of the barricade, and you'll die if you don't do it. And unfortunately, Cat is gonna die to no information. Maybe the prodigal son has not returned, or maybe returned to a 6-foot grave. Frags back and forth, though. Both these teams with the same man advantage, 3-3 at sub 60 seconds now on the clock. It's going to become on that positional advantage of where that diffuser is, who is going to be holding those final angles, and how our toys going to be able to break it down. It's going to come all on Nomad, the substitute in this series, forced to step in at the 3-round mark, able to possibly res Cordell, but still, time is not on their side.
Time ticking down, 20 seconds. They need to make him play right now if they don't want this one to slip away. Buzz will swing out. We'll be able to collect both of them. That's going to be Phantom Legion, bringing it back to our final round, 7-7.
Well, we're talking about getting transfer kills, and here's the only really way to get it. They just hold W and shift, and it's just a free kill at that point. The defense, not common wisdom, would say that defense is better on Chalet, but in this series, it is going that case. One more round steps between our two undefeated teams, sitting at the exact same points count in our overall series. But one of them will unfortunately depart today with a record of a 1 in that loss column. It is going to be Kitchen and Dining Room, our final battleground of the day, at least for Rainbow Six Siege, before we hop over into League of Legends. But one of these teams has to seal the deal, and trusting your squad, being on that defensive stint, they're the ones to have your money on.
I definitely agree with that. And for one reason,
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
communication.
defused
It
by
has been
attackers.
apparent, and it reeks whenever there is a team that has had it break down, whether it be mid-round or start of round, just a lack of knowledge of knowing what to do or what to commit on. And that does fall onto the shoulders of an IGL, but on a map where a meta is still constantly developing and you're playing such an unpredictable opponent, it makes it that much harder. And it really gives praise to IGLs that manage to do all of that juggling while still perform.
Of course, I mean, there's a reason why IGLs are relegated over to, the support role, the main heartbeat role, because their brain is their big, strong suit, not necessarily their mechanical skill. And we've seen super teams be created. We've also seen super teams crumble because you can't just win off gun go burr. Even in CS, where it's a game really designed on mechanical skill, we've seen IGLs, competent IGLs, change the entire course of a meta. And that's the case here. I mean, there's a reason why players like Canadian are beloved because, well, maybe they're not the strongest, mechanical player looking at White Stairs on Oregon, but their Giga Brain is always going to be, that asset.
Definitely one of the most prominent factors. Buzz! You can't break open a hole in a reinforced wall. I think that should be quite obvious, but clearly it isn't. He will peek now through his sliver of a rotation that we have now seen created, and I am genuinely just confused. He'll rotate over towards the piano window and just start to wreak havoc and get his map control over in that area.
The last time we were here, that Phantom Legion had the man advantage, and then they kind of tossed it away. Now, that was a few rounds ago, but they have to apply their crossfires and come over to those westmost windows. And with Buzz working his way closer towards the north, he might be able to leverage that position a little bit more. But Phantom Legion, they're in a position where they're going to start to stall out. They're going to have to start to take these gunfights. It's an opportunity to send flashbangs down range, maybe even a firebolt, and then push. You can also spawn a frag grenade, soften up, and force rotations, but you have to do that now. Time is going to become a valuable asset for Phantom Legion that they don't have the opportunity of spending. You have to cash it in your bank now, or else you'll gain too much interest. And Trist is now going to be silenced permanently for the remainder of this series.
Oh, and the how comes out, but look at those blasts from Maestro's Evil Eye. Geo lit up to extremely low health. Many players forget how devastating each zap of Maestro cameras do. Jello adding on to the man disadvantage for Phantom Legion, and Nomad re-peeking his bullet holes. Cordell stacking up onto Geo when it seems all hope is lost. And it will be a flawless round to end things off. Toys will take it in decisive manner.
And that's the power of the 3-round overtime. The team with the 2 rounds on defense is unfortunately the team that ends up being the victorious roster. It went the distance. Both of our series today were dictated by the overtime stints, but phenomenal gunplay all around. My friend, we're going to have to sign off relatively soon. We love to talk and, break down series, but our League of Legends casters, they need to have the floor. So everybody here watching for Rainbow Six Siege as well as League, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be stepping back for today. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll be back with you tomorrow, same time.